Hello, 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 everybody. Okay, so we are waiting right now for the Barry Morphew stuff to start. So please give this video a like. Let's get it out there that we are live and we are going to be covering this. And as soon as it starts, I will put it up on the screen. Okay, we'll just get this up. Oops. Bear with me, you guys. I got up late. Okay, so I put it on the ticker across the bottom. Let me just go back over here. Okay, so let me just check this again. Oops. Just checking her here. I'm just getting everything set up here, you guys. So, hello, Nina. I'm doing as well as can be expected, Susan. Good morning, Susan. Heather, Jackie, catch the last cast. Kitty. Okay, so I'm just getting things set up here, you guys, so bear with me. I am here, so just bear with me. Hello, everybody. Melmac, hello. Give me a second, you guys. Alright. Good morning, sister. Now, as far as I've been told, I'm allowed to stream this, so I will be streaming it as soon as it starts. It's supposed to start at 10:30. Just turn off my... So this doesn't keep going off every time somebody moves in here. Like I said, you guys, I got up late, so these things I usually turn off, I haven't. And good morning, Sarah, Vera Ray, Roma. No, 10:30 my time, Nana. So in about 5 minutes. Okay, so you guys can hear me okay, I'm assuming. Yeah, so Barry is trying to get the case dismissed with prejudice so he could never be recharged. He also wants the whole thing sealed. Morning, Sybil and Mark. Jackie, Sybil, Cantalee, Looky Loo. Good morning, everybody coming in. So, okay, so let me... Okay, so let me just get this up. So as soon as it starts, you guys, you will be able to hear it. Like I said, Barry is trying to have his case dismissed with prejudice, which means that he could never be charged again with the death of Suzanne or missing Suzanne, whatever. And I believe that he's doing this now because he knows he's with this $15 million lawsuit. He knows he's going to be deposed. So he's worried about the questions that they're going to ask him because the lawsuit is over his arrest over Suzanne being missing. They can ask him any questions that they want, right? Regarding Suzanne. So it's going to be audio and video, Sarah. So Mark had asked what they're going to discuss today. So it's about, he wants his case dismissed with prejudice, which means he can never be charged again. And like I said, I believe he's doing that because he knows he's going to be deposed with his $15 million lawsuit against everybody for wrongful arrest and everything else. And he's afraid what information could come out in those depositions that they may be able to charge him again. So that's why he's trying to get his case dismissed with prejudice. Right now it's dismissed without prejudice. Without prejudice means that if they come across any more information, if they get anything else that points to him, something good, then they can recharge him. I don't even have my live chat. Okay. Good morning, Denali. Good morning, everybody coming in. Sorry if I missed you. Shivani, Patty Ward, everybody, good morning. Sarah Smith, I don't remember if I said hello. Jackie, Sybil, Susan Oswald, Sarah, Vera. I'm just going to say these all again. Mark, Nana, Bez, Melmac. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, I gotta make sure this is on so the mods can see what's going on here. Oh, yes, please give a thumbs up. It helps get us out there in the algorithm. So pop out a chat. Go give me a thumbs up there. When you come back into chat, you guys make sure you got live chat selected at the top of your chat box so you don't miss anything. This says we have really good thunderstorms, so I may lose power and internet connection. Okay. Yeah, well, it's still bad here. We are at the highest level of extreme risk for these smoke fires, the smoke from these fires here in Canada. I'm like 30 kilometers from these fires. I'm in Ontario, right at the Quebec border. And we have not been able to open our doors or windows or go out since yesterday. Yesterday morning, the air seemed, it was all right. But outside right now, you would swear the house next door was on fire, the amount of smoke that's out front of my house. It's really bad and it's toxic. So we're not allowed out. It's like 100 degrees in my house. We can't put our air conditioners on because that draws in the air from outside. It's just horrible. Okay, so let me go over here and just, I really want to make sure, you guys, that I can live stream this. Oops. Okay, hang on a sec, you guys. Give me a minute. Sarah says, I know my daughter lives in New Brunswick. Yeah. Let me just bring this up while we wait for this to start. Let me see if I can bring this up. It's bad. Um, yeah, this is. Oops, let me pause it here. Good morning, Julie. I'm going to try and take a picture. Oh, I can't show it on my camera. Yes, I can. Okay. Let me take a picture of this so I can show you without getting out of the. New Brunswick isn't too bad compared to where I am. Okay, let me go back to here. Whoops. Here. Let me do this. Put my camera on. Oops. Hang on a second, guys. I'll move this stuff out of the way. Okay. So the dark brown is above 200 and 200 millistuff per in the air or whatever. The brown, it's like if you could get out of that area, get out. Like we're just on the outside of that brown. But like I said, you look outside and you'd swear to God the house next door is on fire. It's dark, it's gloomy, hence why it's so dark here. Like you can barely see my hand. It's really dark. You look outside, all you see is smoke. It's like an orange haze. It's really bad, but oh, I can't even show you. I was going to show you. This is the States down here. This line right here is where the States is on this side. We are right here. I'm like right there. Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. New Brunswick is over here, so they're getting a little bit of the smoke, but we are getting the worst smoke ever. It's very toxic. Okay, just give me a sec. Thank you, Sarah Smith. Thank you for your super sticker. It's very much appreciated. Okay, just give me a minute, you guys. I just gotta speak with somebody. Sarah, it's not the heat wave. It's hot as HE double hockey sticks out there, but it's from the fires, which is not only raised the temperature, we have got the worst smoke. I'll show it to you guys that want to see it after the live here. But it's really bad. Like we are at the highest risk you can be at for toxins in the air and everything. They're saying don't go out and everything. Just give me a second, you guys. I'll be right back. You guys, I just heard some noise there, so I think they may be getting ready to start. Nolene, have a little bit of patience. We're waiting for court to start. I can't force them to start any faster. So what's the point of this show? We're going to be showing the Barry Morphew hearing, but please be respectful. No talking whatsoever? No, because court hasn't started yet. So please don't be rude. There is audio. It's just they have not started yet. I just heard some noise happening. So it will be starting soon. As soon as they start, you guys, you will hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear that right now, but I can hear clicking and everything going on in the background, which means it's about to start. I did mute myself so you guys didn't hear my private conversation here with somebody else. So the audio is there. You will hear it as soon as it starts. If you do have earbuds on, you will hear some clicking and noise in the background. That's them getting ready.
Good morning, everyone. Judge Hunter. Good morning, Mr. Hurlbert. Is it Miss Eton?
That's right. Thank you. Yes.
One in the chat if you can hear it.
Do I have anyone else? I know we've got a lot of observers, but anyone else attorney related to the case other than Mr. Hurlbert and Miss Eton that I need to acknowledge?
No, just the court should know that Mr. Morphew is on the telephone.
Thank you. Okay. Let me turn up their audio. I'm going to call this case 22 CR 47, People versus Barry Morphew. Mr. Hurlbert on behalf of the prosecution, Ms. Eton on behalf of Mr. Morphew, and Mr. Morphew is also present by phone. Matter set today for a hearing. Give me just a moment. We're kind of quiet. So I'm trying to turn up your audio a little bit.
You asked him to say something.
Ms. Eton, can you say something for the record?
Yes. Good morning, Your Honor. I'm saying something on the record.
I think we'll be okay. It's a little quiet, but it's quite important so far. So matters set before the court on a hearing from this court's order in April related to defense motions to limit public access. There was a request to stay that order filed shortly after the court issued its April 13th order, which was granted for this hearing to take place. I reviewed the prosecution's response to that motion to stay order, which they raised several arguments, one of which is jurisdiction, which I am prepared to issue a ruling on today with respect to the court's jurisdiction. And then I've got the Mr. Morphew's response to that order, articulating a request for a hearing today, and we'll hear arguments on specifically, I think it's motion D72, as it relates to the court's order making public the records filed in connection with that motion under Rule 55.1. So are there any matters that we need to address before I issue a ruling on the prosecution's jurisdictional argument and before we get to the attorney's argument on the motion that's before the court today? Mr. Hurlbert?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Eton?
Your Honor, I just wanted to, I didn't address Mr. Hurlbert's argument on jurisdiction. I wanted to, I know the court's already prepared to rule. I just wanted to make a record on that, which is that I too have issues about the court's jurisdiction on making orders on a case that's been dismissed. As Mr. Hurlbert pointed out in his pleading, the court has such authority in only very minimal in minimal instances, property and restitution, this not being one of them. And I'm concerned that getting outside of what we see as precedent, I think Judge Ramsey should have ruled on these when the court had jurisdiction. Now the case is dismissed. So as long as the court, my belief is the court does not have jurisdiction to even have made the original orders going forward. However, if the court finds that the court, and I'm sure the court will reason with us on why the court believes it has jurisdiction, then of course the defense contends, and I hate calling myself the defense, but because the case is no longer at issue, but Mr. Morphew contends that as long as the court has the authority to make orders, then the court should be able to hear what the pending objections were to those motions that the court is making orders about. That's all I wanted to say.
Judge, the people object to that. The judge you have no jurisdiction to rule on the 807 motion. You have no jurisdiction to decide whether it's prejudicial or not prejudicial, dismissal with prejudice or without prejudice. You do have jurisdiction under 55.1 to seal some documents or not seal some documents and set a date certain. And so the people would concede that you do have jurisdiction at least to do whether documents should be sealed or not.
All right. I do find I have jurisdiction regarding the motion filed under 55.1, as well as the motion D72. For today's hearing, I do find I have jurisdiction. I'm looking at Wu versus El Paso County Sheriff's Office, 528 Pacific 3rd, 899, Colorado Supreme Court case out of 2022. And that case discussed jurisdiction in connection with a motion for return of property. It talks about the 4-part test from the Hargrave decision. And I think that that's the jurisdiction I have, just ancillary jurisdiction. The 4-part test being that the ancillary matter arises from the same transaction, which was the basis of the main proceeding, which the defense motion 72 was filed obviously in the proceeding, and I think the 55.1 motion obviously relates to it. It can be determined without substantial new fact-finding proceedings. The determination of the ancillary matter through an ancillary order would not deprive a party of a substantial procedural or substantive right. And the ancillary matter must be settled to protect the integrity of the main proceeding or to ensure that the disposition in the main proceeding will not be frustrated. I think those 4 elements are satisfied with regard to what is slated on the court docket today and the 2 motions before it. And I would also note that the motions were filed before the case was dismissed. And so it's appropriate for the court to resolve those motions. Which goes toward the finality and the integrity of the main proceeding. So I do find I have jurisdiction. I'd like to move to Ms. Eaton's motion with respect to what this court should do to defense motion 72. Before moving to the substance of that motion, I think it's appropriate to talk about the legal arguments as to why, as to the motion to strike. And that's what Ms. Eaton argues in the motion, is that the court would strike that pleading. And I'm not sure that I have authority to strike a pleading in a criminal matter. So before moving to the nuts and bolts of the underlying motion, I want to address that issue that I see standing out first. So with that, Ms. Eaton, I will turn it over to you for any additional arguments on that aspect of the procedural posture.
Sure. Your Honor, in the motion that we filed on March 27th, 2022, we identified the reasons why we moved to strike the prosecution's pleading from being advanced into the public record. The reasoning behind that is a constitutional basis. The pleading that was filed was highly inflammatory. Much of the information would have been inadmissible in a trial, and there was so much misleading material and taken out of context that it would have endangered the potential jury trial, which I know we're going to get to, I think, in the second half of the argument we're going to make with the court. But the court is asking me what the legal basis of a motion to strike is. There's no, in my research, there's nothing that says the court cannot strike a pleading. But in this instance, the pleading that was filed by the prosecution should not have been filed. And the motion that was filed by the court to bring in these alleged statements of Suzanne Morphew, many of which had been ruled upon by the court in February and were barred from being presented to a jury in the case. This motion and the exhibits that were filed by the prosecution should never have been filed in a court. And in fact, this pleading itself was subject, before the court even entered this order in April of 2023, I, along with co-counsel in Mr. Morphew's case, filed a request for investigation with the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel and identified this exact pleading as one of the basis for discipline against Mr. Hurlburt and Ms. Stanley. Now, of course, that's still being investigated by the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel, but we substantiated the claim that it was filed out of order and was prosecutorial misconduct in light of everything that had happened in the case. The constitutional basis is the legal basis for moving to strike this pleading. It would have availed the prosecution of a significant advantage in bringing in information in front of a jury, which the prosecution believes has a hunch that they one day will find Suzanne's body, and that hunch will somehow lead them to Mr. Morphew again. But they, if this pleading is not stricken from the public eye, then it will violate Mr. Morphew's right to due process and right to a fair jury. And those are constitutional rights that Mr. Morphew has, and even more so now than he had before. And that's a substantial interest of Mr. Morphew, is to maintain his right to privacy, which is a fundamental right, and his right against harassment and defamation, which is something that this pleading, that the information contained within it will harm Mr. Morphew substantially and his due process rights. So that's the legal basis for moving to strike. I don't see any case law that would have disallowed Mr. Judge Ramsey, now former Judge Ramsey, from striking a pleading based on the material and the basis of the objection that we filed back in March of 2022.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Hurlburt?
Thank you, Your Honor. It certainly, Judge Ramsey could have stricken it as the case was pending, but now that the case is over, Judge, I don't feel that the court has the jurisdiction to strike it. The court can suppress it under 55.1 and the rules under there, but again, it has to give a time certain as to when it needs to be struck. It's interesting that Ms. Eaton complains about this 807 motion. That's what it was. It was a notice to the defense that we were going to introduce certain statements of Suzanne Morphew under Colorado Rules of Evidence 807. And to do that, we need to plead with specificity. We need to show which statements we are looking to put in, where they come from, and where they come from in the context of it. And Judge, we did all that. That's what we were trying to do. And in an abundance of caution, we filed the motion public. That was pursuant to Judge Murphy's order. That motion's be filed public. But we filed our exhibits under seal. to be able to say, all right, let's litigate this before we decide which of these statements are coming in. And frankly, Judge, many of the statements were already in. Many of the statements were already put in during preliminary hearing. So some of the statements about Suzanne Morphew leaving him, those were the statements that were put in a preliminary hearing. So, and Judge, these were not ruled upon. What happened was we filed a motion for 404B for domestic violence. That was denied. But this is a different rules of evidence that we are looking to put it in under 807 as a exception to the hearsay rule. So this 807 was not ruled upon by the judge. There is no jurisdiction for this court. I found no case law. I think it's interesting. Ms. Eaton says that there's she can find nothing that says that the court can strike it, but really, nothing. She says that she's found no case law that bars the court from striking it, but really, there's nothing that allows the court to do it. As the people brought up in our response, the court has very limited jurisdiction after a case is dismissed, and this is a case dismissed without prejudice. So it's basically as if it started from the very beginning, according to the case law and according to my responses, as if these charges had never happened. So, Judge, the people feel that you cannot strike this motion. You can only seal it and give a date certain. And again, Judge, despite Ms. Eaton's inflammatory statements about this, about her bringing up a grievance that, frankly, due process has not been served yet on that grievance, yet she keeps bringing this up, including holding a press conference on it. Judge, the people in good faith to the Judge Lama filed this motion for specificity so that the defense would have noticed exactly what we were doing. So, Judge, people would ask that you deny their motion to strike this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. So as it relates to the motion to strike, the information and the attachments filed with motion D72. I'm looking at, and that's why I asked first for argument on my authority, if any, to strike a pleading, and Ms. Eaton has articulated an argument that gives me a basis to take that action. But I'm not convinced that I agree with that. I'm looking at Colorado Rules of Civil Procedure Rule 12F provides for motion to strike. It allows for a party to make that request of a court, and the court may order any redundant, immaterial, impertinent, scandalous matter stricken from any pleading, motion, or other paper. And that it is reasonable to me that in a civil setting with private parties in a private dispute, the court would have the authority to strike a particular pleading. I don't find a corollary for it in the rules of criminal procedure. I understand Ms. Eaton's argument that there's a constitutional basis for, in consideration of due process and right to a fair trial. But when I look at it in the context of a criminal setting, just looking at the existence of a rule that provides for a party to ask the court to strike a pleading or other paper, it makes sense to me that that doesn't exist in the rules of criminal procedure, because you have the people, government, the people of the state of Colorado coming in to prosecute a case. You don't have merely a private dispute or controversy before the court. And that touches on, the bases behind Rule 55.1 and its rationale and acknowledgement that court records in criminal cases are presumed to be accessible to the public. which transparency is important to assure citizens that its government and its courts are doing their job and proceeding fairly in a case with respect to both sides. So that is reasonable that there's not a corollary in the rule of criminal procedure to strike a pleading. And in fact, when I look at the entirety of the issue, it appears to be governed squarely by Rule 55.1, which is what occurred here with respect to the filing of motion D72 and its attachments. Ms. Eaton filed a motion to have that suppressed, and there were arguments made in that motion related to due process and Mr. Morphew's right to a fair trial. And those arguments specifically touched on the proximity of the trial and having that information come out to the public when the trial was looming. As I indicated in my order in April, that dynamic has changed with the case having been dismissed. There is no longer any looming trial, and looking at the rationale again under 55.1 subsection A, court records in criminal cases are presumed to be accessible to the public. And I don't have a basis pursuant to statute, rule, regulation, or Chief Justice directive that allows me to rule that information remain suppressed under 55.1. And I think, again, 55.1 considers due process rights and fair trial rights, but it also balances it with eventually having that information tendered to the public. So I don't have a basis to strike the pleading as requested in the motion to stay, because I don't find that such a mechanism exists in criminal law. Ms. Eaton, I suspect you have additional arguments with respect to the operation of this matter under 55.1. So I've been kind of wanting to move somewhat sequentially through this jurisdiction and then addressing the motion to strike. And so now I think we're to the point where it's time for arguments under what the court should do with respect to its authority under 55.1 or any other rules of criminal procedure. And I'm happy to hear from you on those lines whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I'm in line with you exactly in how you're analyzing and assessing this, although I disagree with you that the court doesn't have jurisdiction or permission to strike it. I think that this is a, I appreciate the parallel actually with the civil rules, but the stakes are higher. In a criminal case, we have constitutional protections that are not permitted in or introduced or alleged in usual civil actions, not civil rights actions. But the protections that should be afforded to a criminal defendant are higher, than in a civil case, and as a court knows that. So although I disagree with the court there, yes, I would like to make argument regarding 55.1, and the court specifically identified in its order paragraph 11 of our motion to stay, and that is really the final decision of the court is when what is the event that is certain and definite in which a pleading can be released to the public. And I think that's what the court's asking me right now. And the argument is as follows. When we filed the motion to the 55.1 motion, we were very close to a trial setting. And we asked that it be sealed until after a trial. And that was because that's a definitive event that we would have had aired out all of this alleged hearsay, whether or not what had come in, what had not come in, and would not have exposed a jury to inadmissible hearsay. Of course, the court knows that the prosecution dismissed the case with a good faith belief that they were going to find Suzanne Morphew's body and that it was imminent. And that's why they dismissed the case just 9 days before the trial was going to start. Well, the case was dismissed without prejudice because of the prosecution's good faith basis. In October of 2023, we filed a motion asking that Mr. Morphew's property thousands of items, but we specified a couple hundred items, including family photos and documents that could be copied, tax documents, billings, things like that. And the prosecution refused. And they claimed that they were still thinking that they were going to possibly prosecute Mr. Morphew one day, and advised the judge that it would be error, that what if they, let some of the property go back to Mr. Morphew and they found Mrs. Morphew and they weren't able to prosecute Mr. Morphew because the property was no longer in law enforcement's hands. And they convinced the judge of that, and the property was not returned to Mr. Morphew. And that was because the prosecution had a hunch that one day they were going to find Miss Morphew's body. Well, now it's been 3 years, and Mr. Hurlburt and the DA's office now filed their objection to this motion, saying they had a feeling that they were going to find Mrs. Morphew's body. It's been 3 years now, and Miss Morphew has disappeared. And all the prosecution has right now is a feeling. They continue to claim that there was a probable cause finding by the court, but our contention in our civil rights action against Mr. Hurlburt and other law enforcement officers is that the probable cause finding was flawed, because the truth wasn't included in the affidavit and in the information that was presented to Judge Murphy. So at this point, we believe that there's going to be no prosecution against Mr. Morphew. I believe that, but I believe Mr. Morphew is innocent. I don't believe there's ever going to be a prosecution against Mr. Morphew, but the prosecution is saying different. They're saying that they have a hunch that they're going to find a body, and they haven't been able to, and that it's somehow going to be connected to Mr. Morphew. As long as the prosecution keeps saying that, and in a court of law, and making records about it, and not giving Mr. Morphew's property back, and talking to the media and making these statements that they believe that one day they're going to be able to possibly prosecute Mr. Morphew, then there is going to be a jury possibly that is going to hear information through the press, which is on this call right now, that will absolutely reveal all information that is inflammatory and prejudicial to Mr. Morphew. So as long as that possibility continues and the case has not been dismissed with prejudice, then the pleadings that we moved to seal in a timely fashion should remain sealed until the time and event is certain, which is a time in which either the case is dismissed with prejudice, or somebody is charged with an accusation of murder against for Miss Morphew's death, if she's found deceased somewhere. And only under those two circumstances should that material be released. One of the exhibits that's attached to the prosecution's pleading is a lengthy investigative report that is very flawed and misrepresents a lot of the timeline in terms of the investigation and what was found and not found regarding Mr. Morphew. It does not represent the truth. It is cut and pieced together based on different information that the investigator had at the time. It also includes information that is absolutely incorrect and that we weren't ever able to test because we never got to a trial in the case. And that is scientific information regarding the phone evidence and GPS. So we have significant concerns that the information contained in the exhibits and in the alleged factual allegations in the pleading itself are also inaccurate for the same reasons, and misleading and misrepresented, and already found by the judge to not be permitted and barred to come into the trial. So the release of this pleading, number one, should not happen as long as the prosecution is not gonna, and this case is not dismissed without prejudice or with prejudice. That dismissal was made, we believe, in bad faith. And the longer that Mrs. Morphew is not found in any way by the prosecution, the more that we believe that. They believed it was imminent. And now it's been more than a year since they believed that they were going to find her. They said they were wrong about that in October. And now they're saying they had a feeling that they were going to find her in their pleading in paragraph 1. So We believe that as long as this case is not dismissed with prejudice, the pleadings that we believe are inflammatory and prejudicial should not be released to the public. Now, the court can look at what the substantial interest is to keep it sealed. And that is Mr. Morphew's privacy rights. There is a cloud of suspicion, unfortunately, that's hanging over Mr. Morphew's head as a result of the prosecution's continued statements that they have a hunch that he had something to do with Mrs. Morphew's disappearance. And right now, he is trying to do his best at getting back on his feet. Now, we're coming back a year and a couple months later in this case and reopening on this case as if we're in litigation with it. And so Mr. Morphew can't move on, and his fundamental right to privacy is going to be affected by this. And some of the statements in there are defamatory. They're not true. And we have no means of being able to dispute those because we're not in a court of law. They're just going to be released, but we're not going to be heading into a trial where we can argue, or a motions hearing, where we can argue about those said statements and show that, in fact, they are defamatory and not true. So releasing this would be harassing to Mr. Morphew and would violate his constitutional rights. So there is a substantial interest. If the court doesn't see that the certain and definitive time is a dismissal with prejudice, or the court cannot make that finding on its own right now, that a dismissal with prejudice should be made because the prosecution acted in bad faith, not in good faith, when they dismissed the case without prejudice a year and 2 months ago, then the pleading should be sealed until or if ever somebody is charged with the murder of Suzanne Morphew. Alternatively, if the court believes that that is not certain and definitive enough, and believes that this would not violate Mr. Morphew's substantial interest in keeping this private based on everything that has happened in this case and happened to Mr. Morphew in this case, then we believe that what the court can do is to suppress the exhibits that were filed, which are investigative in nature, which I don't think Mr. Hurlburt wants investigative information released to the public. I'd be so shocked if he did. He's not wanted that to happen thus far, but we'd ask at that. And then also the factual allegations that were made in the pleading itself be redacted. So the exhibits should be redacted or stricken, as well as the factual information from the pleading itself, leaving the legal argument to be given to the public. That's what we believe, if anything, should be the resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Eaton. Mr. Hurlburt?
Thank you, Your Honor. As Ms. Eaton said at the very beginning of her statement, we did file the motion to dismiss in good faith. She later changed that to be bad faith, but we did file it in good faith. At the time, we thought that it was imminent that we would find Ms. Morphew. She's in a very difficult spot, but we have not found her at this point. We actually have more than a feeling. We have some specific investigative leads that the people are not going to get into at this point. We don't think it's appropriate to get into at this point. But it is more than a feeling, and the sheriff's office is continuing to look for Ms. Morphew's body. Judge, it was, and I don't know how the court can just now also say that it was not in good faith versus good faith. I think, frankly, Judge, when it comes to dismissing a case with prejudice or without prejudice, the question is, and we cited it in our motion, is whether the dismissal is done with harassment towards the defendant. I would think if we had filed it 2 months later, 3 months later after we dismissed, that could be construed as harassment. The fact that we're now over a year out, I think actually is just the opposite. We're showing we are not harassing the defendant. What we are doing is we are going to make sure that we're going to continue to look for her body, and we're not harassing him. We are simply trying to get this case so it can be prosecutable, whether that's against the defendant or against somebody else. And that is ultimately what we are doing. So, Judge, the question, and Ms. Eaton makes over and over again saying that these things were false in the motion. The people put nothing in our motions, in any of our motions, that we thought was untrue. Certainly in this motion, we thought that we'd be able to present evidence of that at trial, or at least at a hearing, to determine whether it was admissible at trial. Law enforcement backs up what they said. If there was something that they said was wrong, or something that they said was mistaken about, then certainly that's not something that we would have included. Because there is no trial set, what Ms. Eaton is asking is this court is for a indefinite sealing. And as the court brought up in its order, you can't do that. That is something that is frowned upon by the Supreme Court. And frowned upon by the 55.1, the rules of evidence. And the people, if the judge, if you decide that you want to keep it sealed for a bit longer, certainly the people are not going to object to that, but there should be a date certain as to when it is. And here's kind of the thing is that well, let me back up a little bit, Judge. I mean, I think the rule contemplates that there be a date certain, not something out there as Ms. Eaton suggests of whenever a case is filed against somebody. That could be a long time. It could be quick, it could be long. It depends on a lot of our investigation. So, Judge, at this point, the people would actually deny the defendant's motion, or at least grant it and set a date certain.
One moment.
This woman is getting on my last nerve. Like, she knows Barry did it. They're scared of the evidence
Just
that
one
they
thing, as
do
an
have.
example of, we did have something in one of our motions that we realized was erroneous. Mr. Weiner was able to get up and say, "Nope, Judge, we were erroneous." So, I mean, I think that this is something under our 807 motion, Judge. There is nothing in there that is not correct. There's nothing in there that's a lie, as Ms. Eaton said. So.
Hey, bad monkey. Of course you disagree. Of course you disagree, Iris. There's tons of evidence that Barry did this. It was all suppressed because of Linda Stanley's mistakes that she made with disclosure, and they were sanctioned, and the judge took away 14 of the prosecution's expert witnesses that would have proved that he did this, that nobody else could have done this. That's the only reason that they had to dismiss without prejudice. Now, the way Iris is talking here, it's like they got no evidence, they got nothing. No, she knows they've got evidence against him, and she knows he would have been convicted. The only reason she's doing this now is because Barry's going to be deposed in this $15 million lawsuit that he's filed, and that is in regards to Suzanne being missing. He's saying that he was wrongfully arrested and prosecuted and all this crap. They have the right to question him.
As has been argued, the matter is under Rule 55.1, Colorado Rules of Evidence. And I'm looking to that rule to guide the court's analysis. I appreciate the additional arguments today on what the options are available to the court in considering the status of this particular sealed record. I'm going to note my initial order on April 13th of this year. I went through the analysis required by Rule 55.1, specifically subsection 6, which is the findings that court must make when it grants a request to limit public access. In my order, discuss my concern that there's no I can't fashion a date or an event certain. The language of the rule is a date or event certain. And that's in subsection 7. Any order limiting public access to a court record or to any part of a court record shall indicate a date or event certain by which the order will expire. So I suppose I could look at that two different ways. Either identifying as a date of significance with respect to the proceedings or an event of significance is what Ms. Suzanne has argued. As a duration of an expiration of the order of sealing, or I could look at it as just kicking it down the road a bit, setting a date 6 months from now, 7 months from now. Sort of following along with the notion that the people are still searching for Suzanne's body. They've got some leads, they've got an investigation going, and it would sort of just be set out for me to review the matter, I guess. I don't know that I'd ever get any new information, and I'm not expecting the people to share the ins and outs of their current investigation, nor are they required to share that. So I which is sort of be holding these reviews, I think it can ultimately get to where what Ms. Eaton's arguing, that really the court would meaningfully review the duration of the order unless someone was charged in a murder, or there was some sort of other acknowledgement with respect to Mr. Morphew's alleged role in that would substantially shift the nature of the case and change the duration of that order. When I came down on my original order in April was that it's just too speculative. And it's too hard for the court to identify any date or event certain. And that by continuing to just sort of wait and see what occurred.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. There's somebody that just has a name, they just took it down, but there's some nefarious activity happening on the WebEx, which is maybe I just want to point it out for future, any hearings that should be public or not public. Someone just posted on their name, Barry killed Suzanne as their name, and it's still there. If the court can see that, I'd ask that they be removed from this immediately.
I'm not sure.
They remove themselves, it appears.
They might have just removed themselves.
I think they may have.
Yeah. I apologize for my interruption, but that is
Okay.
very,
I don't see them anymore in the.
there it is. It's back.
All right. Can I don't think that would be a basis. They've left the meeting now. And I would caution anyone else in the WebEx queue, you are allowed to attend the proceedings, you're members of the public. But just as if you were in my courtroom, any conduct that is not consistent with the dignity of the court gives me grounds to have you removed from the courtroom.
Oh my God, that was
Carrying on.
hilarious.
That was my concern, was that it would negate the basis of Rule 55.1 to attempt to fashion some sort of event or date certain. I've heard
It's on
arguments
WebEx, Sarah.
and that about the prosecution statements with respect to a potential future prosecution of Mr. Morphew or perhaps anyone, that they've got an ongoing investigation. That is all very, the corners of that are hard to define. And I'm concerned about the speculative nature of that would, as I indicated, lead to a ruling that would negate the purpose of Rule 55.1. I understand some of the other issues surrounding this particular motion. I know Ms. Eaton has raised concern with, the impropriety of filing the exhibits in the first place. I don't think that that's an issue that I can I can grab a hold of. That sounds like an issue potentially for the Office of Attorney Regulation Council with respect to any concern that there may have been an ethical violation. I'm not weighing in on that. That's another proceeding that will proceed in a different tribunal altogether. I'm just looking at this squarely under the rule that's before me, which is 55.1, and the substantial interest that Mr. Morphew has put forth. The fact that he could possibly be harassed as a result of this information, making it into the public stream. And also the notion that there's no trial going along with it, there's no case co-occurring. So there's no response that can be made, there's no truth-seeking process that would serve to sort of penetrate the arguments and the prosecution's attachments and sort of result in some sort of information, making it to the public where they can assess the information and sort of arrive at something that's not just being driven by the thrust of the allegations in the people's exhibit. Those I don't find are substantial interests that support denying the public's access to the records. Again, I go back to my order: without a pending case and a trial date, any concerns regarding due process and right to a fair trial are significantly lessened. With respect to Mr. Morphew's concern over being harassed, there are criminal statutes that prevent such action being taken against him by any member of the public. The fact that there's no corollary, proceeding, generating sort of a response to sort of get this content sort of settled in the public mind, where it's not just being driven solely by the allegations made by the people. I don't think that Rule 55.1 contemplates such a procedure. I know that Mr. Morphew has rights available to him with respect to sealing the case. I can understand why that might not be something that he pursues, but that necessarily figures into the court's consideration when it's weighing Mr. Morphew's privacy considerations and the substantial interests served by making it inaccessible to the public versus the presumptive public access to the record. And again, the rule does presume the public access. I think the language on its face requires more than just a review down the road to see what's going on with the case and if there's going to potentially be another prosecution or not, whether that's against Mr. Morphew or some other individual. The rule requires a date certain or an event certain, and I have neither. I don't know what that date certain would be, other than just a calendar, a 6-month review or a 12-month review. I have no event certain. There's no notion that a subsequent prosecution will come to pass. It's simply entirely too speculative. And while I appreciate the uniqueness of this case having been dismissed without prejudice, in connection with Rule 55.1 and how it sets out to guide the court's analysis with respect to these requests to keep matters suppressed from the public, I still think, and I still conclude, even given the procedural history of this case, that I don't have enough. I don't have a date or event certain. I don't have enough of a substantial interest to deny the presumption that is codified in that rule that the public be given access to those filings. They are court filing. I cannot remove that filing. I cannot strike its existence. And to the extent that there are other ethical concerns, those are outside the bounds of this court. So I am going to affirm and remain consistent with and deny any request to reconsider my order issued April 13th on the limiting of the public's access to specifically D72, as we've discussed here, D71 and 72. And then I have not heard any arguments with respect to the other motions that were the subject of that order. I'm assuming that's not relevant to today's proceedings, so obviously my ruling on that would stand as well. And that will be the court's ruling. Ms. Eaton, do you have anything further?
No.
Okay, how about you, Mr. Robert?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, then I think that takes care of this matter and the court is in recess until any further proceedings are held. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so there we have it, you guys. It's been denied. It still stands. The case is still under being dismissed without prejudice, which means if at any time they get more information, more evidence, something new that they can add to this, he can be recharged. Which what this also means, okay? I'm going to try and explain it, Sarah. Being dismissed without prejudice means that if they find her body, if they find more damning evidence, if they have something concrete that they can say he did it, he can be recharged. Iris Eaton wanted it dismissed with prejudice, which means even if they find her body and everything else, he could and proves that he did it, they could never charge him again for this. Okay, so that's dismissed with prejudice. But he has been dismissed without prejudice, which means, oh, I'm going to take out my earphones because I'm screaming here, which means that if they find her body or they find more evidence, he can be recharged. So they're not happy about that. Now, the biggest win here is that because, don't forget, Barry has filed a $15 million lawsuit against them for arresting him for something he says he didn't do. He is going to be deposed by all of those that are suing him. He's going to be deposed, and Barry is terrified that he's going to slip something out or change his story about something, or something's going to come out during those depositions that they're going to find some evidence there that he did this to Suzanne. Okay? So that's why they tried to get this case dismissed with prejudice, so they could never charge Barry again. So if something does slip out during depositions, they could never charge him again. He could turn, if the judge had to dismiss this with prejudice, he could have walked out in the middle of the street and said, just got away with killing my wife. And there's nothing they could have done about it. Okay? So this is a huge win that this still stands. It's been dismissed without prejudice. It still stands. The judge dismissed the defense's motion to have that changed to with prejudice. So now Barry can very well be facing charges again once he's deposed. Once they get in there and they start questioning him, if they find any little bit of evidence from that deposition or those depositions that give more evidence that he did this, then they can recharge him. He's still not going to get any of his property back. It's still being held. Now, what the judge did say is they're going to revisit it again in X amount of time, and they will argue their case again. But as of right now, he is still number one suspect. He is still only dismissed without prejudice. So this is a big win. And I am thankful because Linda Stanley has messed up so much in this case. It's because of Linda Stanley that this case had to be dismissed without prejudice. Now, what happened there is Iris Eaton was lying through her teeth. I wanted to jump through that screen. She's saying, they fabricated evidence. They did this, they did that. No, they didn't. They had tons of evidence. They had expert witnesses to prove that Barry is the only one that could have done this. They had evidence of him lying, of him throwing stuff away. They had tons of evidence. They had, Suzanne's own words. They had even the daughter lied in the last interview. I've never seen my parents even argue. There was no turmoil. Wait a minute. You sent a message to your mom, and we all seen it in the court filings, that you said, Mom, just divorce him and get a restraining order on him. Yet she says that now she's saying that she never seen them argue or have any problems between them. There's so much lies that are going to be found and have been found even since he was let out. Can you imagine what is going to come out in these depositions? A liar can never remember their lies. And if he's going to go through, what is it? Like 50,000 pieces of paperwork where they've interviewed him and everything else before he gets deposed. Like, no, he's going to slip up. That is my prediction, you guys, that something is going to happen in those depositions and they are going to get something to be able to recharge him. The only reason they had to dismiss without prejudice is because Linda Stanley and her violations on turning over evidence or exculpatory stuff or whatever, Brady violations and stuff like that. The judge turned around and took away 14 out of the 16 expert witnesses that the prosecution had. In other words, they took their case away from them. Instead of, okay, you're going to lose a couple of witnesses. No, they took all their expert witnesses except for 2. How can you prosecute a case? And how can you put a murderer behind bars when all your witnesses are taken away from you? I think the judge was biased. I think the judge has something to gain by what he did. The amount of expert testimony that the judge took away, he basically took away their case. It's on Linda Stanley because of all the sanctions and everything that, she racked up. And all the violations for turning over evidence, but the judge went to extremes and basically took their whole case away from them. Yeah, so I can see Barry maybe even dropping exactly Nana. He is terrified of being deposed. Yes. Jeff Libler was nowhere around there. Jeff Libler had nothing to do with this case, except for being in a relationship of some kind with Suzanne. So if you take away all your expert witnesses, what do you have? You have nothing. And that's what the judge did. So I blame Linda Stanley for all the racking up of sanctions that she got and not turning over things in a timely manner like she knew she was supposed to do. But I also blame the judge. And then he retired right after this case. I'm not sure about that, Luby Lou, if they can reintroduce experts. Now, they could possibly get different experts because the expert witnesses that were denied are certain people. So what they would have to do is get new experts. So you should do the legal thing, file a complaint like everyone else. But wait, there's no one special. Yep, the ruling stands. That's good news. Yes. There is Tube Crime. Hey, Tube Crime. Haven't seen you in a long, long time. Long time no see, friends. Yes. Long time no see, friend. Did Barry Bunce admit to his crimes? No. But Iris Eaton just got, might as well say she got a punch in the back of the head because it stands, the ruling stands that Barry is still presumed to be number one suspect because the ruling of without prejudice still stands. So it's going to be interesting, Tube Crime, when Barry gets deposed in his $15 million lawsuit. It's going to be really interesting. I think right now I can see the prosecution and everybody involved in this case that want to prosecute Barry jumping for joy, except for the ones that I think are corrupt and that we're trying to get this done. Yep, he is on borrowed time. There's a lot of misinformation out there, Chantal. You know, what can be proved and what can't be proved is two different things. Just award him some handcuffs. Yep. I'll give him gold-plated ones at this point. Just because. Yep. Or pink ones. Pink fuzzy handcuffs. There you go. There you go, Barry. Get ready. Karma's a biatch, and Karma doesn't lose a name or a number, believe me. And Karma's about to hit Barry. Barry thinks that he is smooth sailing. Look at what he's still doing. They moved from Indiana for a new start. Barry wanted to go to Colorado. Suzanne didn't want to go. They ended up putting up the Indiana house for sale. Barry moved Suzanne all the way to Colorado, away from her friends and family and everything. Barry kills Suzanne. Barry gets the $500,000 that Suzanne inherited to buy that house. He gets all the money from that. The house in Indiana was already sold. I think the reason he did that is because she wanted, okay, listen to me. Tube Crime, are you still here? Tube Crime, I want to pass something by you and see what you think. Are you still here? Because this is what I think was the straw that broke the camel's back. Is Tube Crime still here? Put something in chat if you're still here. Yes, okay. Tube Crime. This is what I think happened. Suzanne never wanted to leave Indiana. I want your opinion on this when I'm done. Suzanne never wanted to leave Indiana. Barry and her fought about it. They finally moved. The house is put up for sale. Don't forget, the house had not been sold yet before Suzanne disappeared. Suzanne now tells Barry she wants a divorce. Barry now knows he's going to lose that. She's going to get that $500,000 back because you can't take her inheritance. Plus, she's going to get half of everything. I think Suzanne said, I'm not selling the house in Indiana. You can stay here in Colorado where you wanted to be. I'm going back to our house in Indiana. Barry was, I think, furious. Not only that she wanted to divorce and he was going to lose half of everything, including that $500,000, but now he's not going to get the funds from the house in Indiana because now she's going to move back into that house because she wants to go back to Indiana when they divorce. He could not let that happen. And that's what I think the thing that finally pushed him over the edge is she was going to go back to Indiana to that house. He was not going to get the money from that house. And they sold that house for almost $1 million, which he sold very quickly after she was gone. Then he sold to Puma Path. Puma Path sold for $1.7 million. He didn't have to give Suzanne the $500,000 back. He didn't have to give her 50% of everything. And he got the money from the Indiana house that she was planning on moving back into. That's what I think. What do you think? Yeah, plus the inheritance, that $500,000. Because off the top in the divorce, she would have got that $500,000 back right off the top. Then she would have got 50% of everything else. And she was moving back into that house in Indiana. That's what I think was the final straw, was her saying, first, I want the divorce. So now he's going to lose that. He's going to have to give her the $500,000 and 50% of everything. And the house in Indiana wasn't going to be sold. So he wasn't going to get the $1 million for that one because she was going to move back into it. That's what I think. What do you think? I think her finally saying, I'm moving back into the house in Indiana was the last straw. I think he was planning on doing something to her already because he didn't want to lose that inheritance, have to pay that back, or give her half of everything. But I think the thing that finally threw him over the edge was when she said she was going to move back into that house in Indiana and that she was not going to sell it. That's what I think. Bullseye, he says. Bullseye. Bullseye. That's exactly what I think. The house in Indiana had been sold under a contract for a very long time before she disappeared. No, it hadn't been finalized yet, Brandon. Right, it hadn't closed yet, so she still had time to change her mind, which she could have done. Oh yeah, money is the biggest motive here. Barry wanted it all. Barry had too much money to lose. Brandon says that it was under contract. It may have been under contract, but there were still things that needed to be done before that contract was accepted. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe Tube Crime can help us out there. But I know there was still some other things that needed to be done. It could have even been with that little parcel of sliver of land or whatever. I don't remember. I'd have to look back into it. So I don't want to tell you guys something that's not true. But I do know that there was still time for Suzanne to back out of that deal. Right. She was waiting for the house to be sold. Yes. But I think when she finally decided that she wanted that divorce, I think she wanted to move back into the house and cancel the deal. And she still had time to do that. That's why Kelly B, good catch there. Maybe that's why he burned all that paperwork. Maybe she had paperwork that she was starting to back out of that deal. Right? There could have been something in her journal. That's why he burnt the journal about what she was planning to do. But I believe that she was planning on moving back into that house in Indiana and canceling the deal. There's almost $1 million that he was going to be out. But yeah. Yeah. AK's the one, my brother from a different mother. I read something from him this morning over on Twitter, and he's getting frustrated. And I understand why. He has worked so tirelessly. How can I say this? He's getting frustrated. He's going to put everything private. He's turning stuff over, and they're turning a blind eye to it. And he's getting frustrated. He has invested so much time, energy, time away from his wife, his child, money, vehicles he's gone through, the purchasing of all this equipment. And he's given them on a silver platter. Here, look at this. And they're disregarding it. And he's getting frustrated. Yeah, they're looking the other way, right? I agree. There's a lot of corruption in the 11th Judicial District. And the amount of his own money. And I mean, I'm putting myself in the position if I was his wife and we had a child. And it's like, when is enough enough? In AK's eyes, enough is going to be when Suzanne is found and Barry faces the piper. When you're passionate about what you are doing, and AK is a perfect example of that. When you are passionate and when the pressure is on, I know me, I work best under pressure. And the amount of work and everything that I just can't say it enough, that he's put into this he's handing them some evidence on a silver platter, and they're not even looking at it. Yeah, too many egos and not enough action. Exactly. They may have taken a hit somewhere, but that's okay. It doesn't, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. Yes, Suzanne was moving on from him. Suzanne wanted a divorce, and I believe she wanted to move back to Indiana. She never wanted to leave Indiana. Never. And I think that there was something in those journals and paperwork that he burnt that would have proved that that's what she wanted to do. I hope so. Kelly B. Just scroll back up to your comment, Kelly B. And you can remove it. Because I'm scrolling back up. Hang on. Or can one of the mods remove that, please? Yeah, see, I missed bits and pieces there because I had 2 deliveries this morning. Yeah. That's okay, Kelly B. Just remove it if you can, please. If you can find it again, or one of the mods, please remove it. She only wanted to leave Indiana because she had hoped they would have a fresh start. Yes. but she didn't want to leave. That's the only reason. Okay, maybe this is going to be a fresh start. We'll be near our daughter who's attending college, whatever. But very quickly, she found out that that's not how it was going to be. And having her there where nobody, she didn't know anybody. Barry's still on the phone. Are you serious? Hello, Martin. Good to see you, hon. Did you see, Martin, did you see the person in chat that came in as Barry Cade Suzanne and put up SpongeBob as on screen? I thought our cameras, we couldn't put our cameras on. I hope that didn't ruin it for us, but it was good. And Iris just, like, nobody would have seen that. Like, people were watching the WebEx to see what was happening. She pointed it out to draw attention, to give herself some ammunition. Look at, Your Honor. Look at what they're doing. Look at, this is why we need it to be dismissed with prejudice. Poor Barry. Look at, this is going to start something new again. Everybody's going to go in a frizzy again. Look at what's in the chat. She brought that to everybody's attention for a reason. She's going to use that at a later date. Believe me. Yeah. But you don't expect your husband to take your life, right? And it's like, but she said a lot, TK Sash. She said a lot to her friend, right? Sponge is Irish Bob. I think Iris could have set it up, just like she tried to set up me and AK. If you guys remember, they're trying to say that somebody hacked the WebEx and blah, blah, blah. AK goes to court, and I've got copies of the paperwork of the transcripts. Kurt sent them to me. Hang on a sec. Kurt goes into court, and the judge starts questioning him, are you okay? Or blah, blah, blah. Are you so-and-so? Did you say F the judge? And Kurt answered him. He said, okay, well, who's Willow? Do you know Willow? And Kurt says, the tree? Like, he acted dumb, right? Your friend, Willow. Well, I know her from YouTube, from the far north. Then I was blamed for hacking the WebEx. And it's like, I can't even hack my own email. I still can't get into my one email. If I can't hack my own email, like, you guys know by all the mistakes I make here, I'm computer illiterate. Like, if it wasn't for my sister, I wouldn't even know how to do this. She got basically everything set up for me. But yeah, he went in and he, you know, but that came from the defense. They said that it was me or AK with no proof. If you go on to my live, I wasn't streaming anything. I was re-saying things that I was hearing that were coming out of the courtroom. I was saying it, but I wasn't streaming it like they said I was. So, and neither was AK. I did the exact same thing that AK did. So it's like, that was the defense that did that too, I believe. But yes, today is a very good day. And I do believe, Martin, what do you think? Well, Martin or Martin, what do you think about the defense doing this right now? Iris Eaton doing this right now. I believe, I'd like your opinion. I believe that they're doing this because they are terrified of the depositions that Barry is going to have to go through with his $15 million lawsuit. What do you think about that? Do you think I'm on the money there? Because I think he is scared that he's going to slip up in one of those depositions and give them what they need to recharge him. What do you think? Is that why they wanted it dismissed with prejudice, so he could never be charged again? So when he gets to deposition, he doesn't have to be careful about what he says. What do you think about that, Martin? Yeah. Because it's they just argued this not long ago, and they're bringing it up again. So, well, they lost. I'm going to be anxious to see now if Barry drops his lawsuit. I think he is terrified to be deposed by the very people that are trying to convict him. He is terrified. And if I was Barry, I would be very terrified also, because there's going to be a liar can never remember their lies. And I feel like he is going to slip up, and that's going to be the nail in his coffin. Regina Carter, thank you so much for your donation. Regina says, thank you, Willow. You're my go-to for live court proceedings like this. Well, I am glad you're here, as well as everybody else. I'm glad that you guys choose here to come and see and watch along with us. Even the people that think, we've got people in here that think that Barry's innocent, and that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion, right? As long as you're respectable about it, no problem. So Martin says, and what is in the Suzanne messages to Sheila? Yeah. Like, there's messages there, like she was scared of him. She wanted to move on. He was threatening her. You know, there's so much that was in there. Nana says, Martin Smallwood. Every day I pray for you and AK, your angels and all, and I ask all of you be surrounded by the Lord's protection for stuff like this. Yes. Because don't forget, Kurt has gone out there with several different people, and their life could have been very well in danger. At one point, I don't want to mention the channel that he went out there with to search the waterways, because I just don't respect that channel anymore for a good reason. And we don't mention other channels here. I mean, except for my brother. They felt like they were being surrounded by people carrying guns. And I do believe that Barry had something to do with that. Again, thank you, Regina. Sarah Smith, thank you so much, my love, for your $1.99 super sticker. I appreciate you. Yeah, she was scared and the tension was getting worse. And I think the tension was getting worse because I believe Suzanne wanted to go back to that house in Indiana. And he knew he was going to lose everything. Automatically, he would have had to give her that $500,000 back, right? Because that was her inheritance. She's entitled to that money back that helped buy that Puma Path home. And then she was entitled to 50% of everything else. He didn't want to lose that. CSI says, I remember that. Yeah. Let me look at some of the other comments here. AK Rocks has been treated unjustly over and over. Yes, I do. I believe that too. Like, he has handed them stuff on a silver platter that could really seal this case, and they're just turning a blind eye to it. Martin and AK, they've been working hard on this for a long time. I remember when we first started this team. I'm not so much involved with it anymore because I just have too much on my plate, but I do still stay up to date with what's going on and stuff as best I can. This next week and a half is going to be a little off because I have 2 surgeries coming up in the next week and a half, one right after almost the other. One this Wednesday, which is a biopsy, and then next Tuesday is a surgery. So after that, I'm going to be back on track because I won't be able to go far. So I will be on this computer and I will be up to date on everything. But yeah, we started this like days after it happened. We had a small team then, and AK has just stayed 1,000,000% invested. He's met other people along the way that, you know, have done a lot of stuff together. But Martin and Kurt have really, you know, pushed through and have really stayed on top of everything here. It might, Jean, thank you again, Sarah Smith. Jean, way to go, Jean. I hope you said what I asked you to say, but it wouldn't have been on the Zoom, but maybe one of the news stations might have picked it up. So I'll be watching for that. What were you wearing? What color's your hair and what shirt were you wearing? I'm going to try and see if I can find you in it. And if I can, I will put the clip up. Yeah. Meep13 says Suzanne texted her friend and told her if something happens, it's Barry. Barry did it. Whoops, wrong comment. Sorry. What do you think of what the prosecution said about Suzanne's whereabouts? I only caught part of it. I'm not going to lie, because I had a delivery. My earbuds are not working for some reason on Zoom meetings. So I had to have my ones that plug in. So I did miss some of it. But what do I think about the prosecution said about Suzanne's whereabouts? What did they say exactly before I make my comment on that? If you can give me word for word what they said, I will comment on it. Gene P says, yes, well, the judge railroaded AK, blaming him, then you. Yeah, so when they couldn't prove it was AK, when they see AK proved it wasn't him, then they started questioning him about me. Who's Willow? How do you know Willow? Where is she? Where does she live? AK says, the tree? He's great. He's great, you guys. He does things, he throws digs, but in a very respectable way, so that, anyway, I just love how he handled all of that. Yes, thank you, Martin, for all your hard work and helping AK. Martin, here is a question for you. Did you hear the male prosecutor say in the hearing that he can't say who has given them new evidence on where Suzanne is? So that is for you, Martin. I don't know if Martin wants to come up on panel. If he does, I'll give him the link. And then you guys can fire away some questions to Martin, if he wants to come up. See, I didn't hear that comment, so that had to have been when I got up. There was 2 deliveries that came, so. Yeah, exactly. Des says, the judge says, do you know Willow? AK says, the tree judge? The judge says, no, the person. So Martin, there was a question there for you. I don't know if you want to come up and panel. If you do, let me know and I'll just shoot you the link. But Gene P wants to know, no, hang on. Mama Lynn says, what do you think of what the prosecution said? Oh, it wasn't that one either. Oh my gosh, where did it go? I should have left it up on the... Okay, I'm going to send you the link. Let me get my earphones back in first, Martin, so we're not echoing. And we're going to have Martin get up on panel, you guys, and then you guys can ask him some questions. Let me just get my earphones on. All right. Okay, this is for Martin only, you guys. I'm going to bring him up so you guys can ask some questions. I sent the link for Martin. So please, you guys, the link there is for Martin. Please don't click on it. There we go. Show me your face for a minute, Martin. Was no bike ride.
All right, 1 second.
There he is. Hello, Martin.
How are you, Willow? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can everybody
Oh.
hear Martin?
1 second. I just have to turn off.
Martin gets
Okay.
with you guys, and then we will get right into this. Okay, so Martin, there was a question about what you thought about what the prosecution said, that they're not going to say where they got their new evidence, but they think that they got some new stuff.
Yeah, they're not going to discuss. They're not going to discuss any of that. That's for sure. But I'd say they have had plenty of new evidence recently. You know, so they have. They said CCSO are continuing looking for Suzanne's body,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in the next couple of weeks they will get some more help on Suzanne's location.
Okay, so you don't think when he said that they've got, I forget how if Butterfly Dana, can you put that comment back up again? Because I want to say it exactly the way you're asking it. What do you think? We know that Kurt has turned over a lot of stuff and given them a lot of stuff. What's your thoughts on how they seem to be handling getting that information from Kurt?
Do you know, it's hard to say because you know, they don't give much information out. Like Kurt has turned over evidence to CBI, different things. Some things we know about, some things we don't know about,
Mhm.
and has heard nothing back. I mean, whether these items were did they test them for DNA, or did they find out any information from what evidence he gave them? And there's nothing, you know. So we're AK's in the dark for a lot of this stuff, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know he sent me something a while back that I'm not going to discuss yet because it's not mine to discuss. That's whenever AK decides he's going to put that information out, he will. But I'm just wondering, like, I almost get a feeling like they are just sloughing off what he's done. And I'm not happy about it because he's put a lot of work, like, especially with the GPS and the coordinates and all this, let alone like individual items that he may or may not have found and turned over. I just feel it's like there's so much more there that backs up their theories on certain things.
Yes.
And it just seems it's just being pushed to the back burner. At least that's what it feels like.
I know that's exactly what it feels like, but I'm not really too sure if that's the case. I think it's an awkward situation when you get members from the public basically given evidence and finding evidence, and you know they have to, number one, trust where the evidence is coming from, that it's not tainted or planted or you know. And then there's this other part where, you know, they're not really willing to say that it was a member from the public that gave them, you know, it's an ego thing sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I look at it. So, and I know AK is not looking for them to turn around and put a crown on his head or anything like that, you know.
He wants Suzanne found. That's what he wants.
Yeah, that's what. That's
it's
exactly.
not, you know, and I've heard him. We've had many conversations, Kurt and I, and he says, you know, Willow, he says, it's not even about seeing Barry in jail. It's about finding Suzanne and giving her the justice and proper burial that she deserves. You know, so in his mind right now, all he wants to do is find Suzanne. If that leads to Barry going to jail the rest of his life and finally being convicted, that's a bonus. Right now, his main concern is finding Suzanne.
Well, there's two ways of looking at that, Willow. you know, if you find evidence that is, you know, puts Barry in behind bars, that will also help find Suzanne. Do you
Right.
know?
Right.
So, but the main goal, 100% is
Yeah.
to find Suzanne.
Oh, I know
So,
he will love the day that Barry is behind clink cling and never coming out. I know that.
yeah,
But right now, what I'm seeing is his main focus is finding Suzanne.
100%.
And the bonus is going to be, Barry, you're going away for the rest of your life.
And
we
whatever
all-
order that comes in, you know.
yeah, whatever
you know,
order it does, as long as it
yeah.
happens, as long as Suzanne's found.
Yeah.
So
And for the girls as well. I feel for the girls, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you hear that last? This is what I want to ask you. If you remember in the text messages, one of the daughters said, Mom, just get a, leave him and get a restraining order.
Yes.
But in the last interview that they did, the girls both said that they never seen no toxicity and stuff like that in their parents' marriage. Like,
Well, you have to understand that he was a very domineering, narcissistic, I don't want to swear,
yeah.
but you know, and he was controlling, and he controlled everything that went on in the household.
Yep.
And Suzanne probably was there protecting, you know. But when she
Yeah.
wasn't there, he has full control. And you see them in those videos, and he's holding them both of their hands, and
Or their
like
butts.
yeah, well, yeah, but it feels awkward even to watch it. It's uncomfortable to watch it.
Yep. I
And-
agree.
And when you see Mallory there, for instance, when she was asked, and she said she was confused. Now, that's a big flag.
That's
You know,
it is, because
it's
she
a
never
big-
said that before.
No.
She always said, my dad did not do this.
Yeah, and I can see like Macy would have been closer to Suzanne at that time because she was at home. You know,
Yeah.
they spent a lot of time together,
Yeah.
and if you look at those when you're reading through all those text messages between Sheila and Suzanne, they're so telling,
They are.
telling. You know, like if you ignore what's in there, you know, you can't ignore
You
what's in
can't
there.
ignore it. Yeah.
No, and you could see there's more than 1, 2, 3, 4 times that Macy's saying, "Come on, we'll move to Salida, we'll get a house, or divorce him, or just leave." In those couple of messages that we have now, the other messages that we don't have, the ones that they're talking about today,
Mhm.
there must be something big in there that they don't want to
They
come
want-
out.
They want suppressed.
Yeah. Also, I'd say I'd love to see the littler messages. You know, the ones that were sent on supposedly from Suzanne
On the Friday.
on the Saturday. No,
Oh,
the
on
ones
the
on the
Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay.
Which we know weren't sent by Suzanne, but I would love to see those if they could release them. I'd love to see them because I can just imagine what those text messages are saying.
Aren't those the ones that they're trying now to suppress from the public?
I think no, I'm not sure if it's them. I think it's the messages that they're trying to suppress are the more recent ones from Sheila and Suzanne. Continuation of those are ones that haven't released yet.
Okay.
So like I put a load of them I put them all up there on Reddit there the other day, and yeah, it sort of kicked off a bit, but and it was funny because all I done was put up the messages that Iris Eaton had released, you know, in the prelims, and some people didn't like it at all because the truth is there. The truth is in her own words, you know.
Exactly.
You know, you can look as many times in what Barry has said in his interviews, and he contradicts himself constantly, and he changes to suit the narrative, and it's when you look at them just one interview after the next, after the next, after the next, you see how he changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I got the whole transcripts on them and I was going over them like interview by interview, what he said then, what he's saying now. And it's like,
Yes.
there's so many contradictions in there. So many. And it's almost like, oops, okay, they know that. So how can I build
Yes.
a narrative now around that to suit what I need?
do you know when he asked for immunity?
Yeah.
And
He said, I'll give you everything. I want immunity. And
yeah, I'll tell you everything about all his
Yeah.
friends and everything he was going. He was willing to sacrifice all his buddies, all his
the same ones that are helping protect him now. And it's like,
Yeah.
and in the same instance, it's like, if you have done nothing wrong and you're not to blame for this and you had no interjection in
100%.
any of this, what do you need immunity for?
100%. But to be honest, if I was cruising there now, I would have. You had him on the hook, do you know?
Yep.
And you could have just played him a bit and reeled him in. Do you know?
Yeah, I think
like they let him off the hook.
I think that they did, as much as I hate to say it, I do think that they jumped the gun a bit in laying the charges when they did, because for the simple fact that he was having conversations with them openly.
Yes.
A lot of those things, there's AK. AK, you want to jump up here? Let me know, hon, and I'll give you the link too.
You jumping up, bud.
Here you go, AK. If you want to jump up too, get your butt up here, because you two are the best in this. So get the hell up here, brother. Where was I now? See, there's my ADD again.
No, you're fine.
I forget where I was.
No, you were just saying that they went to arrest him too soon, basically.
Yeah, because he was talking openly. Once they arrest him, he's no longer talking. I think they could have got a little bit more contradictions, and even maybe, because I've always said my whole life, since I first got into law 30 years ago, there's always a little bit of truth in every lie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they could have kept him talking a bit more, and maybe, he started trusting them in some little way form, you know what I mean? Thought that they were buddies. So if they could have got him talking maybe a little bit more about different things, could they have gotten something big?
Well, you see, there was, if you remember the interviews, there was a stage where Barry was saying, look, when's this going to end? When am I going to be finished, being questioned? And, and everyone's looking at me and whatever, clear my name. And then next thing they said, well, there's a bit of housekeeping we have to do, you showed them this picture of phone pings up towards Garfield, and, these 13 miles, missing miles they had, and a few other things. So they wanted him to tidy these up.
Yeah.
The very next interview, Barry turned around and said, oh, yeah, I actually remember now. I turned left heading to Garfield, and I seen some bull elk, and and where did you turn around? Well, I turned up near that little ski village and ski town, and I just turned around there and came back,
Yeah.
But then they had him, you see, for being where the helmet was, you see.
Right.
And
there's
then
so
he realized
much.
that. He realized all that, and he said, wow, they have me. They have me. I'm after basically putting myself beside where the helmet was planted.
And not that. It's like when he said that the reason he turned that way is because he's seen this bull elk. Well, it was the wrong time of year for them to still have antlers or to shed.
100%. Yeah. Like most of his stories, when he comes out with them, he forgets
what he
when you're
said.
telling lies. It's the details. It's the
Right.
small, little, tiny little details is what they miss out on.
Yeah.
And that's where we catch them out on the small details, because we've only got a small portion of what law enforcement have got compared to what we have.
Right.
But we have scrutinized every item,
Right.
because this is all we have.
You guys have picked each thing apart. Like you've gone in depth.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way into a lot further than most people would. Even your the people working on the case, because they don't have that time.
Right.
like AK has basically spent 3 years on this, and
Yeah.
I've spent just a little bit less than that. Do you know what I mean? And like we've put in nights. I tell you now, we put in 20 hours in a day. Do you know? Not
Yeah.
3 or 4 hours sleep, back up again the next day, non-stop working on this.
That's right.
So,
And that's why I say, Martin, like, I think the reason they did this now, wanting the judge to now dismiss with prejudice, is because they are terrified of him being deposed. Because he's a liar, will never remember their lies. And the people that you are suing are the ones that were trying to put you away and get you found guilty on what you did to Suzanne. So anything is going to be fair game in that deposition.
Why did Barry not want to meet up down the town hall and plea to the cameras and the media? That's why he done it in behind closed doors.
Yep.
That 26-second video, because I can imagine now there was probably for that 26 seconds he put out, there was piles of it on the floor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was cut or retake, and
Yeah.
I'd say Trevor Noel was there watching Barry trying to be sincere.
Mhm.
And he kind of said, why would he be trying to be sincere? Like, your wife, you know what I mean, is gone. Like, you would be upset and you wouldn't have to try and put it on.
Yeah.
And it's so false and it's awkward. The whole lot of it is just so wrong. Using lines from Chris Watts, I want your back so bad,
Mhm.
stuff like that. You know that this is all orchestrated.
Yep.
And
Very well thought out, he thought.
well, I tell you something. People underestimate him, and I did too. I thought he was a bumbling idiot, and he was going to get caught out in a very short time. But when we started digging into this deep, we started to realize that this guy
He's a
has
mastermind.
planned this.
Yeah.
He's planned this for, and I suppose if any one of us, I suppose, if we spent 8-10 months planning something like this and listening to all these murder podcasts and whatever, and was spying on Suzanne and probably spying on the girls as well, because there's evidence there that says that he knew stuff about the girls, and conversations that Macy was having. She wasn't actually having them with. Barry said the conversations that she was having with Suzanne weren't actually with Suzanne. So that was when she was in Mexico.
Okay.
On holidays, So the spy camera he had, Suzanne saying it in her list of grievances that she was being watched, from the deer's eyes or whatever. She felt she's being watched, and you don't get that feeling for no reason.
Right. And women's intuition is so strong. Like
anyone's intuition, to be honest, it wouldn't have to be. You would know if you'd say to yourself, how did he know that?
Yeah.
Is he watching me? You know what I mean? And then
there was the one time, Martin, that she was there with her friend.
That's right.
And remember Barry, and Barry was coming through the bushes and everything. And he says, "Oh, I was just trying to sneak in because I didn't want her friend to see me all dirty."
Yes.
Like,
yes.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Who?
Totally
Okay.
yes.
I was with a diesel mechanic, and I could have a room full of girlfriends, and he didn't care. It's like, okay, well, I got to clean up. I got to come in the house and go, like he would beeline it right up the stairs. But who at that point they were in the backyard or something. So why would you park in the front and go in the front and beeline it to the bathroom instead of parking way down the road, sneaking through the bushes? No, you were spying on them and you wanted to know what they were doing, what they were saying, who were they talking to,
100%. Yeah.
So,
or maybe he might have thought that she might have had company, other company,
other company. Yeah, exactly. What they were doing, who was there.
We don't really know, but it's creepy, it is creepy. And then he's got all his game cameras around, and he said he had them there, checking to see who was coming and who was going. Like, I'm a firm believer that the CCTV cameras that were around the property were there up till just beforehand.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and where that stuff was dumped, we don't know, But and he had the accounts for all the phones,
Yep.
so he could actually, without even getting hold of Suzanne's phone and putting it side by side and linking them together, he could do it without actually getting hold of her phone.
I know personally, and this is from personal experience, you can put spy apps on a phone.
Yeah,
You
100%.
You need 2 minutes with that phone.
Yeah, you don't even need. See, he didn't even need the phone because he had
Oh,
all
yes,
the
he had-
IDs.
That's right.
You're right.
So he didn't even need the phone. Like, and
Yeah,
I'm saying in a context, like if I think my son is up to no good,
yes,
I can go and it takes 2 minutes to put a
That's
spy
right.
app. I can see all his emails, text messages. I can hear his phone calls. They save into a recording for me. There's so much that's
You
out
can
there
actually-
right now.
you can actually turn on the microphone and listen in
Yes, without
into a
even having it
conversation.
on.
Without,
Right.
and you can use the camera on both sides.
Right,
So
to
you can
see what's going on.
What's
Yep.
going on? Yeah,
Yep.
and these are they're marketed as parental spy apps.
Right.
Keeping an eye on your children. But
And there's some out there.
most people use them to check up on their husbands and wives, and
Right. And there's some out there, and I think a lot of them can never be traced by who put them on there. They can't be traced back to that person. A lot of them. There are some that can be, but there's some you cannot trace it back to who put that on there.
Well, I actually came across. It was funny. About 2 years ago, it was while this case was going on. I met up with a woman who I don't really know her that well, but she, just happened to be at the right place at the right time. It was raining, and she was caught in the rain, and I was somewhere where she could come in for shelter and give her a cup of tea or whatever. And she was telling me about her ex-husband, and that she had only realized that he was watching everything on her phone. And I thought this was unreal. I've never heard of this before in my life.
Yeah.
And she was giving me all the details on it. And then when this kind of came up on when the information was coming out, I was saying, God, I wonder, is that what he was doing? Was he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could actually control the whole device.
Yep. Yep.
So you can make calls from it. You can wipe the phone.
Yep.
You can wipe that phone from your phone completely.
Yep.
So yeah, the opportunity was there, and I'd be surprised if because of the way he was with spying on her or whatever, I'd be very surprised that he didn't have that done. And the guy who he bought the phone off, all the stuff is on his. If you look at the Bluetooth, the guy's name's there, and he's on the witness list, and he's got a shop downtown in Salida, and the fellow who supplied the phones. So he'd be an interesting character, I'd say,
to get on the witness stand.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, hopefully he'd be on Suzanne's side. You know what I mean? But this there's so much. There's so much evidence there, and it would be great to get hold to find Suzanne's body. That would be brilliant. But depending on the condition of it, and it may not tell a lot.
Well,
but the one thing it would tell is where it was found.
Right.
If it was found within the vicinity of Puma Pad, you can, or on one of his job sites, or near one of his job sites, yeah. And if it was found somewhere between Salida and Broomfield, yeah, you could say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's found in somewhere in Nebraska or somewhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you know what I mean?
The thing is, after years now, what condition? Like, what did he do? Did he dismember her? Did he put lye on her, lime or lye or whatever that is? Like, we don't know what happened there. So when they do find her, it's probably going to be the only thing that we're going to find out is this is where she was found. I think unless there's a lot of bone left where they can see if there's been any like blunt force, like to the head, like a crack of the skull or a
Maybe.
stab mark or a slice mark in the bone.
I don't.
Because
I
think
don't see it myself now. To be honest,
no,
you
I
know.
don't. That's what I'm
Like,
saying. It's
she's
like
very
there's not-
petite. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
there's
she's
not going to be
110
anything left.
pounds. You know, in weight. Fairly weak because she was only building herself up just recently. You know, doing her biking. She was only biking about 6 weeks. You know, and
Right. Well, that's
was
what I'm saying.
Miles got her.
There's not going to be much left but bone. And what can they find out from that bone? About the only thing, if they say they find her skull, if her skull is fully intact with no injury to the bone itself, then, you know, blunt force trauma to the head would, like, say somebody, he hit her with a baseball bat. I'm just hypothetic.
Yeah.
There would be a crack in the skull or a smashed in skull. So I'm saying when and if they do find her, the only thing they're probably going to have, if they have that, is bone. And what kind of condition is that bone going to be in? And what injuries to that bone would be there or could be there, depending on what he did to her.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, as far as flesh and stuff like that, there's not going to be anything left.
No, unless, you know, it all depends on where
it all
she's
depends
buried.
on how she's.
You know, like you can find bodies and they're fairly well intact for the amount of time there, even after 3 years. You know what I mean?
Depending on how they were disposed of.
Yeah, where they're disposed of, and
how,
you know, and what, you know. The other thing is the how many feet above sea level they are, and all those type of things all come into it. You know, so we don't know, but the one thing that would be evidence, as I said, would be the location. You know, if the location ties into Barry somehow, But I actually think they could, if they really look at the information that's there, and we know that they have cameras all around Salida, a lot of cameras even going up as far up towards 225, and then the cameras around in Broomfield and places like that. If they look at all that footage, go review all that footage, that stuff they haven't looked at before, go right through the footage and pick up stuff, because I believe there's information on all those cameras that tie in to what was going on. And
there's also the new owners of Puma Path. They also got cameras all up around that property. So if he did bury her there and tries to go back and maybe take the body or body parts and move them, he would be caught on camera there too.
You would think so, but it's like 7 acres, and then there's areas outside of Puma Path that there's no properties being built on, and there's BLM property there, and there's you know, this place, it's easy to hide down there. You know, if somebody wanted to go in there, and if she was, say, a mile away from the house, you know, you could do stuff there and nobody would know. You know.
Yeah.
So we have some pretty good places that need looking at. You know, that tie into GPS, that tie into phone calls and stuff like that, and its movements, and there's a few strange things that we've noticed that we didn't know before, and they all kind of tie in. And so
well, like the last one that AK just you know, we're not going to talk about that. That's up to him to talk about. But he never thought he'd find that, and he did. He finally did.
Yeah, and that was just he mapped the area. You know, he went down. Not
we don't want to talk about the area.
No. There's a couple of areas. Second now. Okay. Second now. I can just turn this off for a minute. Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, I don't want to bring out the areas because he doesn't, that's up to AK to release, but there was one specific area that I knew he had been looking for that he couldn't find that he finally found. So that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, like to be honest, we have I'd say there's probably 7 or 8 good places that we have on that keep
On
coming
radar.
up. Yeah, on radar, they kind of keep coming up, and but yeah, like there's times that nobody sees AK. I mean, you don't see him, and people say, "Where's he gone?" He's constantly looking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And doing stuff in the background. So, and he's got a life.
Well, he does. And I said that earlier before you got up here. I don't know if you were on when I said that. It's like, if I was his wife, or, you know, it's like, she's got a heart of gold like he does, because they have a family. He has a wife,
100%.
he has a child. And I mean, she has been so supportive of him, and a lot of wives wouldn't be.
No.
You know what I mean? So the amount of work that he's doing and everything else, like, he deserves so much more than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
And no matter how many people have tried to bring him down and get him to stop, he ain't going to stop. You're not going to scare him away.
And do you know what? The more they try, the more it drives them. Because when I get it too, I get trolls sometimes and that type of thing. And you know you're on a touchy subject when the trolls appear.
That's
you know
it. You know you're doing something right when you're getting those kind of trolls. And it's like, he was even accused, he was in love with Suzanne, and Suzanne, he wants to find her alive because he wants to be with her. Like, are you guys, what's wrong with the marbles up there?
Yeah.
You know, like,
that's crazy.
Like crazy. So, I mean, I've heard so many things, and it's like, you know, when you're starting to get trolled like that, that you're on the right path.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And normally it when you're on those subjects, it helps in a way, because sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But you get, when you start concentrating on an area, you know, you'd be surprised on what you pull up, because when you're focused on something, like as I said to AK, we've gone through all this data and stuff like that, and we've eliminated so much, all the rabbit holes, I'd say. You know, we've eliminated all these rabbit holes and what have you. And now we're coming down the funnel. We're getting nearer and nearer. We're gaining more ground, you know, because we're concentrating. When I look through the AA now, if I like, I don't know how many times I've read it. It must be over 30 times I've read right through the AA. But when I'm reading it now, the stuff jumps off the page.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And because this is what's in your mindset. You're thinking of this particular whatever it is, and anything to do with that just jumps out of the page at you.
Right.
You know, so
some things that you may not have noticed before start jumping out.
Because when we were searching, like when we were getting the stuff ready for our E to Z, we were going through dates and times, you know, to fit them into the timeline. You know, everything was done. So all you're looking for is dates and times. You know, you're not really reading what's in the script so much. You're just looking for all the dates and all the times. And then you put them in. And then when something else comes up, you kind of go through the AA and you're scanning for this and that stuff comes up. But you miss so much stuff all the time. Because I said every time I read the AA, I 100% find something new. I definitely do. And as I said, I've read it 30 times easy, if not more. So there will always be something new will come up. It's less and less now, to be honest, I would say. But that's a good thing, because it means that, you know,
you're being thorough.
Yeah, we've a lot of stuff.
And see, the thing that I find too is when you start, there's a lot of Barry supporters out there, but within Barry and his little cliche themselves, when you start upsetting people, they react angrily, because that's my buddy you're talking about, blah blah blah. when you get somebody mad
Yes.
and they start responding,
Yes.
that's when you got a good chance of something slipping out.
Yes. And I've seen that. I've witnessed that.
Oh, me too.
I had
Me
little
too.
spats. I've had little spats with trolls or whatever like that, or Barry's minions or supporters, whatever. And in the middle of a spat, they'd say something, and then you find that gets deleted. You know.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, they delete it because they realize they've
It's
let
like,
something out of
oops.
the bag. Yeah, but
Yep.
I've probably already had that copied at that stage. So
Yeah. Like once you put something out, especially when you got people like teams, like we started as a team, and it's like I've said before, I've backed away from it from the very beginning. We were together, then we some of us had to back away, we had just had no choice. But then he's picked up you, and there's others along the way that have been major,
100%.
yeah. And both you and him and some others, I don't want to mention them because I don't know if they want to be mentioned. So I'm going to, we're on this
all
side.
I'd say is, I wouldn't leave anyone out. I'd just say that we have a good team.
We
good
do.
team of people.
And it's not, they're not going nowhere. They're not going nowhere. And I think that a lot of these trolls and a lot of even people that are in the Barry circle, and I'm talking about, okay, well, he's an acquaintance, so I'm going to have to stick up for him because he may be able to do something for me down the line, right? So even acquaintances that Barry has that jump on some of these podcasts and some of these lives and everything else and start viciously defending Barry, it's like, those are the ones that I want to get on here. Like, I'm a very easygoing, but don't ruffle my feathers. I worked in law and dealt with criminals for over 30 years. I'm going to get you upset because I want you to slip up. And that's where I'm going to get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you get these people that come in, you got to I'll go off on them. It's very rare it's happened here, but I've got no problem going off on people, because if you're going to, say something and make it a matter of fact, then you better have
the
proof
facts.
And you better have receipts to back that up, because I'm going to come at you with both barrels. And a lot of people will overlook certain things because they're not well versed in the legal field or how the law works or how evidence and collections and this and that, how everything works where I am. So one thing that you just said that's not in line with what you're trying to say overall, I'm jumping on that.
Yeah.
Because there's a mistake you just made. And I want to know the answers to the questions I have regarding, never mind all the distraction shit that you're putting out. I want to hear now on what you just said to me on that. I'm going to question you on that and that alone. Don't just try and distract with all this other garbage. You know what I mean? And you see them back down because they know they did an oops.
Well, a good way of doing it, I often get it where I'd have somebody will come back on a post and they'll put all this BS out there. Stuff that I know for a fact is BS.
Yeah.
I just start putting in the facts with page numbers and references and all that, and they hate that. Do you know what I mean? They hate that. But they hate when you start putting out
I hate being questioned on what they're saying because they think.
Well, they don't care. Like they just put out BS. You know what I mean? They put out a pile of BS on something that is legit, and they put a load of BS and think that you're not going to deal with it. But I take pleasure in
dealing with that.
In dealing with that. So and they're helping me get information out there, because I will put the right information. If somebody says Barry didn't do this or he didn't do that, I will within seconds
with receipts that he did do that.
Yeah, or I'll have it out. I'll have it out with the AA. It's on page 22 of 129, and it's down the bottom paragraph, or it's in the footnote, or it's wherever, and I'll put that with the comment. Do you know what I mean? So people can then double check what I've said is correct.
Yeah.
Do you know? And when you do that a few times, they disappear. they just disappear away because number one, their whole idea was to go in there and try to disturb some truth.
Mhm.
And then what they've ended up doing is there's more truth coming up that people probably never knew about. And
Right.
so they're better
And that's
off
why I
staying
say
quiet.
when you get them mad and you start
Yeah.
questioning on them, it's like they've made an oops now. And now how do they backtrack from that?
Yeah.
They try to distract and they'll put out something that's
Yeah.
total BS to distract from the fact that they just did an oops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or they
to get
delete,
away from,
or they delete that.
yeah, or they delete it because they just
Yeah.
don't want to start answering questions on that.
No. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so I tried to get AK up, but he is out and about right now. So stay
He
safe,
is.
AK. We
Yeah,
love
he's
you.
busy there. He's sending me stuff there now to beat the band. So he's quite excited about something anyway. But
Good. Good,
yeah.
good. I love when he gets excited about something. Send it to me, brother.
but
But yeah,
look, this was a good day
it
because,
was.
to be honest, nearly every time we went for a hearing, Suzanne got a hammering.
We were all heartbroken coming out of a lot
loads
of
of
these
times.
hearings.
Yeah.
A lot of these hearings
And-
were heartbreaking.
And you know what? I like this
This judge?
Yeah.
Judge
Amanda
Hunter.
Yeah, with a name like Hunter, that's the best one. You
Yeah.
know, Barry's getting hunted by the hunter now. You know, what I
Isn't
mean?
that ironic?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this judge, and she was matter of fact. It's like Iris Eaton was trying to distract. Well, Your Honor, we got this and we got that and we got this and we got that. Well, it doesn't apply here. I'm sorry what you're saying. Don't tell me that I can't rule on this when I can. And then other things that she says you can rule on, but the prosecution saying you can't because you don't have jurisdiction, blah, 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 because a previous judge already ruled on it. The judge was having none of that.
None of that.
She wasn't interested in the distractions or the double talk
Exactly.
or the backtracking.
She
said
she had Lama in the palm of her hand.
Yeah.
And George Morphew, you know, they got rid of George Morphew with the Shoshona, you know,
Yeah.
with the other thing. So, but Lama, we thought it was going to be a breath of fresh air, and turned out that
He
he
was
didn't want anything to do with the DV. You know what I mean? He didn't want any of that brought up. Really harmed the case.
Yeah.
And then when he realized he's put his foot in it, he went out the back door and have a bad back and retiring, and you know, so we just didn't know.
He
what
tried
was
to
gonna
bow out as gracefully as he could.
Yeah.
And it was like he knew he made mistakes.
100%. And I think, like, even what you were talking about yourself and AK, that business that went on in the court, like it was, you know,
I still believe, like Kurt says, that came from the defense, because
100%.
Kurt and I were doing the exact same thing and just repeating what we were hearing, which we were allowed to do. We weren't streaming. So when they couldn't, I feel it came from the defense, and when they couldn't pin it on AK and the judge started questioning AK, well, who's Willow? How do you know Willow? Because AK had him and they knew he came with receipts.
Yes.
But here I am up in Canada. I can't be there. So now they're going to try and throw it onto me. So when AK, he sent me the transcript, and when I heard how he responded, "Oh, Your Honor, Willow, you mean the tree?" It was like, oh my God, I just killed myself. But I think the way Kurt handled that was priceless.
Brilliant.
Yeah, priceless.
100%. Yeah.
But in the same aspect,
but they still got away with it. They still got away with stopping all the media recording. You see, when we look back at the prelims, we see so many lies coming from the defense.
Yep.
So many.
Yep.
And so that was their game, you know what I mean? They made up a load of stories that went through.
Yep.
And
she did
and
today
then they were saying about Sheila and Suzanne were having conversations on Saturday, and everyone and the dog thought they were having conversations. Yeah. There was no conversation.
There was no, The only one she had conversations was with Jeff, right? Jeff Lidler.
Well, she didn't actually. But there was her phone was having conversations.
Oh,
with Jeff.
but was it her?
it wasn't Suzanne. Like Suzanne was deceased the day before. Do you know what I mean?
The
Like,
Friday night.
on the Friday night, yeah.
Right.
So
I'm getting my
that could-
times mixed up here.
No, but well, you see, no, but well, see, law enforcement believe it was when at 2:44 when he arrived home the second time on the Saturday is when it
After
all
he'd
happened.
had his soup and all that stuff, and
Yeah, which he didn't have either because we
Right.
know he was in the woods with
Yep.
in his truck. But no, the that couldn't have happened because those pings around the house were Barry sitting in his truck on Bluetooth.
yeah,
So he's making calls. He's actually made 2 calls to Suzanne while he's parked at the front door.
yeah,
He's made 2 calls. Not that he wanted to speak to Suzanne, but he was playing the thing on conversations. There's lots of things happening between me and Suzanne. There's things happening between Suzanne and Jeff. Suzanne is friend requesting all these people.
yeah.
You know, Suzanne is alive. Why
Yeah.
would somebody be making out that somebody's doing all this thing out of like this? This has never happened in history with
Yeah.
Suzanne or Barry. Like they didn't actually make a call to each other. May 4th was the first call they had. It was I think it was 12 weeks between there was a call between each other. It was
Mhm.
either April 24th or was it May 4th, one or the other. But there was 12 weeks there wasn't a call between the two of them.
Exactly. Until
And
the
then-
day that she's gone.
And then May 4th, there was a load of calls because that was getting Macy to go to Gunnison. Do you know what I mean? That was all the calls were going on there. Macy got to Gunnison, and then the next thing you've got after that, there's still no calls between Suzanne and very, very few before Friday. After
Right.
Friday, no calls. All the calls are from Barry to Suzanne. And how long do you think those phone calls lasted?
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Yeah. Just enough
3
to
seconds.
just enough to register that his phone called hers.
Exactly.
See, and
Just
I
the-
don't even think he even said, okay, they had dinner, they made love and all that. No, Suzanne was dead by
No.
9 o'clock. I believe she was dead by 9 o'clock that night.
On
Friday night. Friday
well,
night.
Well earlier than that. Well earlier.
You think
because
earlier than that?
as soon as her phone stopped working. Yeah.
I'd have to go
Yeah.
back over my timeline thing that I did. But I kind of figured it was they didn't have no dinner. Nothing like that happened. I think she was,
on the you're talking about the dinner on the Saturday. No, there was no dinner. Barney might
there
have
was
had a
no
steak.
dinner on the Saturday.
Barney
But
might
I
have
do
cooked
believe
himself a
she
steak.
was gone Friday night when he said that she was in bed and she was snoring and this and that she was sleeping in the other bedroom. I didn't think no, she was already gone. There's no way. There's no way. She was already gone. He gets up, like he's up all night and then he leaves for Broomfield. So was that Saturday? That was Saturday, right? Because he was in Broomfield on the Sunday, right?
Sunday, yeah. But he was up all night on the Saturday, and then like he you know the blue shirt that was found and the helmet
Yep.
and all that.
Down that
yeah.
embankment there, yeah.
So he took a trip off there around 4 o'clock in the morning, and he deposited all those things. Not the bike. I think he dropped the bike off when he was on his route to Broomfield.
See, that's funny because that came out in my very first read I ever did on this case. I think it was just days after. I seen that the bike was in the back of his truck and him throwing it. So when they found that bike down the embankment, and then yes, I know the chat's going to blow up here. Everybody in the neighborhood touched that bike without gloves, but including Barry. Like this whole thing was just like from the beginning when they started finding things, like they found the bike, then they found the helmet, and they found this and they found that. They found there was something about something else found up at 50 and 225, I think. What was that was found up there? Do you know?
There was the blue shirt was found up there, which JK found,
Okay.
and there was another item found up there. I can't say
They've never said what that is though, right?
They had an item that's not been mentioned, but
Right.
also AK found an item. I don't
An
think
item.
it could be the same. It could be the same item,
Right.
and then there was the helmet. So, and her phone pinged then
There.
up last ping on our phone that morning was basically at Garfield, not the mine, but just Garfield area. It was 11.5 miles west of the Poncha Tower, which is basically down at the back of the gas station down there, and Shell gas station in Poncha Springs.
Oh, yeah.
So 11.5 miles west of that brings you in that area, but where his pings were along by the South Arkansas River. You know, basically not far from where the helmet was found, not far from where the blue shirt was found. So the speed that he was moving tells me that he was on in a vehicle, and he wouldn't have gone up there in his truck, because number one, I don't believe the mileage would bring him up there and back. But
The
he
ATV.
had a motorized
ATV.
No, he had a electric bike.
Oh, I didn't know he had an
Motorbike.
altitude. I knew about the ATV because there's ATV tracks
Yeah.
that go up behind his place too. So I knew there was an ATV.
He had an electric bike, and you could actually carry a deer on this bike with you. You know what I mean? So he went up that direction. We believe anyway that he traveled it on. We'd be silent. Number one, at 4 o'clock in the morning, you'd be silent.
You wouldn't hear it.
You wouldn't hear it. If the moon was out, he wouldn't need lights, you know.
Yeah.
And so he was depositing. He was laying the paper trail,
Yeah.
you know, to say, well, this is the direction the abductors went.
Mm-hmm.
So the mountain line was a load of BS. That was just innocent husband thinking it's a mountain line. You know what I mean? And then
there's
the
no
abduction
evidence.
theory-
There would have been evidence right there of her being dragged,
100%.
some blood, anything.
No, but he knew that. He knew that was going to be a BS thing. You know what I mean? But his theory
Distraction.
that he wanted to go with was the abduction theory.
Right.
But you see, none of the theories work out. I done a post there about a month ago, and it's Barry's theories, and none of his theories hold
Work
water.
out. Yeah.
No, there's 6 theories I think there is, and not one of them hold water. No matter which way you do it, and I've done it from trying to be on Barry's side, they still don't work.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, you got to do it like that to be objective. Like,
oh, you do. Like,
is
like
there
I
a
done
way
the same,
that?
I've done the same with the Broomfield.
Mhm.
Like I know about landscaping, and that's I've done that for years. You know, so and construction. So I knew there was no way that would work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the first thing if he had to put the Bobcat on the trailer and brought the Bobcat up there, I would have probably given him a bit more credibility.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there was no materials, and there's a lot of materials, and he didn't have to be there.
Come on, there was a shovel and a rake, wasn't there?
There was a shovel and a rake and a broom, I think.
And a broom.
But the because it's Broomfield, you see, at the or as he says, Broomsfield. But he didn't need any of that to be up there,
Right.
because he had the drawings, and the drawings showed the wall had to be extended in length, and both walls had to be extended in length and in height
right?
in some places, not totally, but in some places. And you could have done that off the drawings. You didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't need a crew there to do anything. And with a broom and a rake and a shovel, what were they going to do? In fairness, like they needed the Bobcat, they needed pallets, they needed to strip all the walls down, like it was done in the end. But the company that did it, you know. So it was a load of BS. The Broomfield thing was just to get rid of all the evidence, you know.
Well, I mean, I think that was the receipts were brought with that when, you know, it was looked into, and it's like nobody knew he was going to be there. There was no, you know, even the jurisdiction or the city or whatever said no, and he couldn't have done that on a Sunday anyway.
No.
And it's like, so nothing even like that to me was a wash right from when I first started hearing it, because you're going up to do a wall like this, heavy bricks that are used or whatever those concrete things are. And you're going up there with a shovel, a rake, and a broom. What?
But to be honest, they're not that heavy. I'll give you that. They're not that heavy, those bricks. But
well, when you got a new, like how many are there? Like 300, you know? Like 500?
There's thousands.
Thousands? They start getting heavy after the first 10, 15.
but they're full. They're filled as well with packing. You know what I mean? They're filled as well. You know, so and then there's the geogrid and then. But the thing is, the problem in the first place is they didn't compact the foundation first, not properly. So they would have needed his bobcat to or a whacker plate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To pack
That
all
pounds
that down.
down
you know
that
what I mean?
dirt.
Yeah, and so he didn't have the tools to do it. Plus the materials. Plus, where would they put the materials? You know what I mean?
Right.
Where they had to have places to put them, and they had to have places to make it safe, cones and all that stuff. Because people were walking up and
There
down
was
there.
nothing. There was nothing.
Nothing.
There was a broom, a rake, and a shovel.
It was an alibi. He
Yeah.
needed that alibi. That's why he was keeping Suzanne alive on the Saturday with all the phone calls and all that. He was doing that because if otherwise people would be looking then at the right day. They'd say, well, you know, there was nothing from her phone. There was
And the
nothing.
changes of the clothes
You
when
mean?
he's going in and out of that motel. The
Yeah.
changes of the clothes.
Well, the change of his clothes could be because he was contaminating the clothes he was wearing from what he was dumping.
Right.
But it also could be just to make it look as that he's
2 different
been
days
busy, you know.
or something.
No, just that he's been busy and he's changed his clothes and you know, went to do this and to do that. Maybe what would be spotted on camera, maybe thought that
Right.
if he was wearing something different, you know. But confusion, I'd say.
Yeah. Just all distractions.
But we've mapped a whole lot of Broomfield, and there's a few small segments of Broomfield missing. Like we have more telematics for Broomfield than we have for any other day that week. The most telematics we have in his truck is Broomfield. And we don't have any telematics from when he left Puma Pad, from when he left the property Puma Pad all the way to when you drive into Broomfield itself, where he made the first track just about 200 meters before he made his first trash dump at the RT Flatirons station.
Is that the bus stop?
Yes,
thing?
exactly.
Yeah.
At the bus stop, yeah. Where he made that very first one is where the telematics come on. Just 200 yards, maybe 300 yards before that, the telematics come on. And then when he's leaving the hotel, the telematics, there's nothing from the car park at the hotel all the way back to the bike site, but not even when he arrives at the bike site, but about 25 minutes after he arrives at the bike site, the telematics come on.
Wow.
So, yeah. So he's switching on and off the telematics on his truck manually.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not possible to have that time of, like somebody said, oh, because it was in the mountains. No, because we have telematics from 2019, 2000 earlier of him being in the mountains in his truck. He lives in the mountains.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. We have telematics from him way back in 2019 in different areas on the way up to Broomfield or whatever. And so that is BS. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was switching on and off the telematics of his truck.
Absolutely.
No doubt in my mind that that's what he was doing. And we know how he was doing it. You know, we looked into it, how easy it was to do. Very simple. You know, very simple just to do that.
Yeah.
And so there's lots to come out. There is lots and lots to come out. You know, and this has given us a breather now because we didn't know what was going to happen today. You know, things could have went south, but
this could have been so bad today.
I think what's going to happen now is I think.
Do you think he's still going to go through with his lawsuit now that
I don't know.
that this judgment stands?
I thought it was a bad idea from the start because Barry doesn't like he's avoided speaking from the very start.
Right.
Like he didn't get involved in searches. Even the night of when he was at the bike site, he skulked around in the bushes watching what law enforcement were doing. He was standing there with his friend, the Richardsons, and they were with him, and they wanted to go and help. You know, look, Barry didn't want to help.
Yeah.
He just wanted to stay there. All totally abnormal.
Right.
Like you see Barry when he gets out of his truck, so false. You know, he should have got an Oscar. No, he shouldn't. He was not good. But and then you see you see Miles Harvey, Macy's boyfriend, and how he talks, and how surprised they are with what's going on, and it's all natural. Do you know what I mean? The way
they're in a panic. They want to, okay, where is she? Where do we go? What, you know, like,
100%.
and Barry was just,
he knows. He knows where she is. You know what I mean?
yeah,
He's got the upper hand here. He knows and
exactly. Why
and
am I
he
going to
can't
go
say-
look? I already know where she is.
like if he'd have come out with a car and he was crying, so shout out Suzanne or whatever that, but no,
No, nothing.
he's not going to shout out Suzanne because he knows Suzanne's not around. You know what I mean? His brain is telling him. You know what I mean? He's thinking all the time. He's thinking about the bike.
Yeah.
And there's evidence on the bike. You know, there was evidence on the bike, planted evidence on the bike, but not that you could visibly see.
Right.
There was evidence on that bike. And Trevor Noel, he was asked Trevor Noel one time to ask the people, to ask CCSO, inquire about the bike.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? When I heard that, I think it was on Chris's channel or somebody's channel profile, even one of them, and they were talking about, you know, this thing about asking the CSSO about the bike.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is very suspicious.
Yeah.
Because, and the fact that himself and George Davis, as I said, they were like Sherlock Holmes and Watson, bending over the bike, and they touched every part of it apart from one pedal, I think, you know.
Well, and not just that, when even the officers on the scene started putting gloves on to grab this bike to pull it up or walk it down the path like they ended up doing, they all touched it without gloves on.
They did, yeah. But
So
I see,
like,
in fairness, I have to say, in fairness, that they were probably looking initially for just a woman to have an accident off a bike, and you know they weren't probably thinking immediately this is suspicious, even though Deputy Brown said that he started to think that way. But when you see how he was handling the bike, it's cringing. You know, it's cringing. But I give him the benefit, you know, that he was looking for a missing woman and he was just retrieving the bike, and he should have just left it there. You know, he should have left that bike there.
it shouldn't have been
there was
touched.
no need to take the bike out.
Yeah.
And I'm not to take up all your time here, am I?
That's okay. We're going to pop off here soon, but it's just, I wanted your input and wanted your thoughts on things. And today, to me, was a good day. It's a win for Suzanne. Win for Suzanne.
Yeah, a win for Suzanne.
I'm going to predict that Barry ends up dropping this lawsuit.
Well, I'd say you could be right, Willow, because I just cannot see him wanting to be questioned by all these people, you know, that he has. And they will not, believe me, this time, they're
not going to skip a beat.
No, not going to skip a beat. They've had a long time now since this case was dismissed.
Exactly.
To now be able to relook at all their evidence, go through it, a fine-tooth comb.
Catch him in some of his lies and stuff like that.
I'm sure they have a lot more evidence than what we have. So
you can 99,000,000% guarantee that.
Yeah.
So
100%.
like I said, as soon as I seen that he had filed this motion to have his case finally dismissed with prejudice, I said, aha, he is terrified of being deposed. If they lose this, he's going to get rid of this lawsuit because he doesn't want to be deposed. It's opening him up. And like I said, a liar can never remember the lies. So unless he's going to go through 100 million pages of stuff that he's given already before he's deposed and remember all them lies, there's no way he's going to come out of this unscathed, and he may just give them something where they can, we got you.
Well, I've gone through Ireland's lawsuit, not like I have the AA, I have to admit, but I've gone through it briefly, and I've highlighted everything that I can see immediately without scrutinizing it now, just stuff that she has in there which is wrong. It's not the truth.
Well, she did it today, Martin. She started off with, they fabricated all this evidence. They lied about this and they lied. No, they didn't. And the only reason you're saying that right now to this judge is because it's because of the judge that took away their expert witnesses,
Yes.
and now they had nothing. Now, the
Yes.
way she projected that and the way she was trying to come across saying that as if the prosecution had nothing, you're a liar. You know they have more than enough to.
She
Get
knows
him.
that.
Yeah.
She knows that, and she wants her money. You know, her and
Right.
Barry are two peas in the pod. The both of them want money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what they have in common. So yeah, well, good luck to her.
Good luck with that. I think
yeah.
today, Martin, I wish I could have been there to hug that judge. Like Iris Eaton so far has been used to getting her way.
Yes.
And today she just got backhanded across the back of the head.
I think she manipulates the men, to be honest.
Absolutely she does.
She's a way of doing it, and but she's not getting away with it here. And
Nope.
and Hubert, I think his
Ironically,
he's very short. What he has to say, he's just to the point. He doesn't waffle on. She waffles and waffles on. He just spits it out, puts it there. I like it.
I was happier than a pig in poop.
Yeah.
That this was a female judge.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
And this female judge, because look back, she's always had what she had. What was his name? Boyce and Lama.
Yes.
She had two male judges that she could bat her little eyelashes and whatever else she was trying to do, and making it a look at me, I'm a powerful woman.
Yeah.
And men, I'm not going to get into it. But anyway, she had two male judges. Now she's finally got a female that's not buying her crap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think Judge Hunter just put her.
Well, I was hoping that was
place.
going to be the way. I was hoping that was going to be. I wasn't sure, to be honest. I had very mixed feelings this morning about the whole thing.
Well, I can just see Barry now. It's like, you idiot. What the heck? Like, he's probably pissed right now that Iris didn't get one over on this judge. Females know females. And I'm not putting that in professional term.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Take the professionalism right out of it, that's a judge and that's a lawyer. Women know women.
Yeah.
And with that judge sitting there, looking down at Iris Eaton and just Iris's mannerisms, the way she's carrying herself, like I'm the bomb.
Yeah.
It's like, you just made the worst impression ever. And now you're going to come at me with all this bullshit, you know?
Yeah. This was her worst day.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Like the day when she went to all Barry's stuff back, that was bad. But this was her worst day.
This is her worst day. Yep.
Yeah. She was put back in her place there today.
Exactly. She was put in her place finally. Yeah. And I think as long as this continues, where Iris Eaton now has to be on her game even more than she ever has been, because she knows this female judge is not going to buy what she's selling. I think Iris Eaton's going to have a hard time.
There was one strange thing that was said there today, I thought, from Iris, was about the this evidence that she wants suppressed, that the prosecution wouldn't want to release it anyway. She couldn't see that happening and blah, blah, blah. But still wanted it, sealed. Mm-hmm. And I think that this evidence, because I've been saying this for a while, like, where is the up-to-date, the more recent text conversations between Sheila and Suzanne? Yeah. Because you can see it. The very first one we have is in September the 1st, 2019, and then the next one is the following day, and then we've got another one 3 or 4 weeks later, and then the next one after that is in I think it's in February, and then you have one. So there's one other one's missing. Do you know what I mean? Because these are deadly. These are great. These conversations. You know what I mean? Because they just tell it how it is. Like when you think about going back to September 2019, this was way before the trip in Mexico, and so this was all happening then.
Things hadn't really heated up at that point.
Yeah, no, they hadn't. Like this is probably a year into her affair, and
that she hid from everybody.
And probably Sheila. Sheila said she didn't know about it, but maybe not. I don't know. But
But I mean, you can't hold that against her either.
No,
It's
no,
like,
but like you can't. No, look, she probably was ashamed of all this. You know what I mean? As
Right.
well, you know what I mean? Because as
But
much
the
as
way
Barry was doing it to her, it wasn't
she
with
said
her, but
tit for tat finally, and I'm going to be happy. But the way Iris Eaton is trying to make it sound, you know, it's like, no, you can't fault her for that. She look at who she lived with, a controlling, narcissistic, and I'm not going to swear either.
No,
Just like you said,
Do you know
you
what?
know?
She just wanted. She wanted a bit of attention, a bit of love. That's what I
Yeah.
think she wanted.
She
I don't
wanted
think
to
she
be
wanted.
happy.
Yeah, I don't think she wanted to have this roaring affair. And to be honest, most of it was just chit chat backwards and forwards. They met a couple of times and whatever. But you know, can you imagine being living in that ivory castle? You know what I mean, in the middle
Yeah.
of nowhere, and
Yeah.
being left there, you know, on your own.
All
you
your
know.
friends are in Indiana.
Yeah.
Your family's not around. The only thing you have is Barry and your daughters. One daughter's not there. The youngest daughter is starting to bloom and having a boyfriend and doing her own thing. She's left there by herself.
Yeah, and that's the narcissistic
Yep.
personality.
Isolation.
Control, isolation,
Yep.
away from all, especially with no phone coverage and all that other stuff. You know, she had it. When you read, I type.
Well, you know who she did
I
talk
put all that
to,
together.
Martin. You know who she did talk to.
She talked to God. I'd say
That's missing. That can never be read or heard or anything. Is her journal.
yes.
That was her escape, and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's burnt. The rings of it, the spiral thing in the fireplace. If you had nothing to hide, Barry, where's her journal? Why was it burned?
I don't remember having one. That's what he says. I don't
Yeah.
remember having one. But you know, in her 50 grievances, the lines, what we read in the AA is only 50% of what they have.
Yeah.
So they're only excerpts of the grievances. Now those grievances, if you read through them, they're all addressed to Barry. Do you know what I mean? It's you did this and you did that or you did it. These aren't just statements. This was addressed to Barry. I believe that the messages that Barry deleted on the worst message he ever received that he deleted from Suzanne was on the Friday morning, which was the same time when she put that into her iCloud for safekeeping.
Right.
I believe that she sent that to him, the full Monty. She sent that to him. And that was after him threatening suicide 2 days beforehand. That was after him he stayed out that Thursday night, never came home. And he done the same on the 5th when she sent him, I'm done. I done message. But she had sent him an I'm done one previously back in September 2019. If you read her messages, she says it to Sheila, I told him I'm done. And a year later, she's basically telling him again, you know, or 8 months later, whatever, she's telling him again that she's done.
Yeah. So what happened in between then? Did he, okay, I'm going to change my way. You know how narcissists are. I'll change my ways. I'm going to be better. I'm going to do more things. You know, whatever he said to keep her there as long as she stayed. Because I left a very abusive relationship too 10 years ago. And it's like the things that they do to manipulate you, especially like I was a totally different situation because I had my friends and my family and everything around me. Even though he tried to keep me isolated from them, I lived where everybody was.
Yes.
She's been moved away. She's isolated out in the middle of bum F Idaho. You know what I mean? Well, Colorado.
Yeah.
And she's got no one around. So the manipulation and the love bombing and the gaslighting and everything that he would do with her, I can see it because I've been through it. So whatever he did to keep her there as long as she stayed there. And then she finally said, okay, well, things aren't changing. It's getting worse. And then she sends him that next message. You know what? I am done. So from the first I'm done, what did he do to gaslight her, to love bomb her, to get her to stay until the next one where,
the suicide was the suicide text.
Yeah.
Was the next thing.
Claiming
that came after what she said, I done. He rang her, God knows how many times before. And then she just texted him, I'm done. And then after that, it was the suicide texts.
Well, she said, I don't even care what you're doing anymore with who.
Yeah.
I'm done. Yeah.
No,
it's
no,
like-
no, 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 no. What you've been up to and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what you've
But
been up to or
I just-
something like that. Yeah.
We just want to end this.
Like, I don't even
mean,
care. Like, he knew at that point that she didn't care what he was doing anymore. He knew
No.
at that point she
meant
is
it.
done.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on top of that was the after she sent, which I believe she sent him all the grievances, the whole lot.
Yeah.
And it basically said, "Not I know everything that you were at.
Yeah.
The money, everything, monkey app, all
Yeah.
women on Facebook, the whole lot. I know everything that you were at." And,
So in turn, he had to start getting her Facebook and adding guys, so he didn't
Yeah.
look so bad, right?
yeah, well, that and also to keep it was a two pronged.
Yeah, and to keep
effect
people
there.
thinking she's still alive at that point.
Still alive, yeah, because those requests were going on the next day until people accepted them. So it looked like those requests took probably 5 minutes to do
But see, that
got
was
on-
done.
on Facebook and request, and then they don't show up till people accept them or open their Facebook.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And the thing I
So-
say about that, Martin, it goes back to what I said earlier, is you get people mad enough, they're going to slip up. So now Barry's mad, and that's
slipped
one
up.
of his slip ups.
That is a
Because if
slip
you
up.
go back in her history of Facebook,
Yes.
he's never done something like that before.
No.
But he was mad. And it's like, yeah, well, watch this. I'm going to make you look like a big SLU, you know what?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, yeah, you told me you're done, and now you're adding all these guys. I'm gonna make you look a certain way,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean. When you get somebody mad, that's
And he
when
was-
they start.
He was
slipping
mad,
up.
mad. He was mad when he done this. He was after already killing her at this stage, so he is fuming
fuming.
because she's made him kill her now. Do you know what I mean?
Even after
Yeah.
what
and,
he did to her,
and who did he call?
He's
Who did he-
still fuming.
And who did he call just before he done the Facebook requests? Her dad.
Yeah, asking for a loan or something.
No.
wasn't it?
Just tell them the loan is paid off.
Okay.
He's angry. He's angry.
Yep.
And he said, "Tell your sons and your whatever that money's been paid off." You know what I mean? And
But you look at it, he's still, even after he kills her,
he's still angry.
he
as well.
is still. This is why I think that she is in two separate places, because I believe he was still angry, so angry. He still wanted to hurt her more. He couldn't hurt her more than what he already did. He killed her, but he's still going to do more to her because he is still angry, and that anger has to come out somewhere. The anger is towards her, and I believe that is why he
Well, I
mutilated.
I don't think so. Now, to be honest, we
I-
all have our own opinions, but my opinion is that he came home on that Friday, marched in there. She knew she was in trouble. She knew when she sent
Oh,
that
absolutely.
thing that she was in trouble. She knew well, and not long after that, before she spoke to her sister, she texted him and she says, "I'm sorry about Rob Massell. I didn't get his invoice done, but I promise in future I will do the invoicings when you want me to." Basically
Right.
saying, "I'm going. Whatever's happening, I'm leaving, but I will
Yeah.
still do your info. I'll still be civil, and I'll do your invoicing for you." You know what I mean? I'll be
Yeah.
that type of person. But that was tipped
He
him over
knew
the edge.
she
there.
was done.
Yeah, 100%. After,
And that's why I
when you
think,
see-
Martin,
and then go on. Sorry.
that she was gonna cancel that deal in Indiana, and I think she was gonna go back to Indiana to that house. Because I don't think she ever wanted to leave that house.
No. Well, she maybe, but she probably, to be honest, she wouldn't have had all the money. She would have been very well off still, but
Right.
she'd be on her own, and as she said herself, she'd live in a shack.
Yep.
She didn't care. She like those type of things didn't mean much to her. She wanted love, and she wanted to be respected, and she wanted to have a
Feel
life where she get up
secure.
in the morning and not be afraid and all
Yeah.
those type of things. That's what she wanted. She didn't
Yeah.
care about where she lived. You know, a mud hut, and she would live in that time. But the thing is about the Friday, it's an escalation.
Mhm.
She stayed up all night composing this, all the bits. She stayed up all night typing away everything is wrong.
Right.
And she got it all together. In the morning, she sent it to him because I believe that the whole weekend, the whole week was supposed to be Barry and her sitting down and discussing this,
Yeah.
you know,
With the
the
kids
separation.
away.
With the kids away. Get the kids away.
Right.
And Barry probably said, look, we'll get Macy away and we discuss this. And
Yeah.
then the night when she returns back from Gunnison, he doesn't come home. The next morning, she sends him, I'm done text.
Yeah.
The very next morning. Then is the suicidal text, and then she goes off on a hike or a bike ride. And when she comes back, he collects her and they go for a drive. And he's driving like a lunatic, like absolute lunatic, swerving all over the place, which is witnessed, you know.
Yeah.
And then the next night, he stays home. But the next night, he stays out again. And he doesn't come home. And she's up all night now. She's had enough. This is it. That's the last straw. She's really upset.
She's done.
And she's done, and she's spilled it all out. And then she sent the Rob Mazzell text. And then she rings her sister or texts her sister, and they have a conversation for nearly half an hour. And she's telling her sister about everything that's going on. Well, not everything, but she's telling her an awful lot that she never spoke to her about before. Melinda was so surprised to get this text message.
Well, because now she is done.
Yeah, she needs help. She's looking for help. You know, she's now looking for help. And Melinda, which was correct, said, look, let me think on this before I give any advice, because the last thing I want to do is give the wrong advice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't matter because it was going to happen anyway.
The plan was already in motion.
Yeah, it was in motion. He comes home. He goes out. She locks herself in her bedroom. There's a gun cabinet underneath the bed. She takes out a gun and she tries to load it. He comes in and the door's locked. He bursts in the door and he sees her with the gun. And I'd say he strangles her and she's fighting him off. And if you look at the cuts on his arms,
Those are nail marks.
They're nail marks and where they are. So I said to AK, get your better half, get her, strangle her, and get her to fight you off.
Strangle her, Martin.
Well, pretend.
Pretend you're strangling her.
Yeah, and
gotta watch this YouTube stuff.
I know. I get her to fight you off, and so he done that, and AK had the marks in the same places, and he never told her where to defend herself or whatever. But the name
your first instinct, because my ex did try and strangle me, is you grab at their hands. Well,
yes,
all my karate training and everything came back, and I put my thumb right in his eye and almost popped his eye out and kicked him in the you know what.
Yes,
at the same time. That's the only thing that saved me, because grabbing at their arms, you can't. You're not strong enough. You know what I mean?
And
he
was limping a lot afterwards, wasn't he? He was limping a lot.
Maybe she did nail him.
Well, we don't know, because he had, remember the cut on his leg he got, and he made a big deal about. Maybe she did kick him into that spot where his leg was bad or whatever, but she definitely fought.
She fought.
And I think then, like, you could wrap her up into a small parcel. Do you know what I mean? There was no.
Well, you could put her in one of the larger suitcases that you use for traveling that you got to put. Yeah. You know, you got to check a bag check. It's not a carry-on, but you could like.
She'd like when you if you were hogtied, you'd be able to fit somebody into a small, that's of her stature, into a very small area.
If you've already strangled them and they're no longer alive before rigor mortis sets in, you can put them up in a ball, like with their 100%. Knees up to their chest. Like Suzanne was about the size that I am, so I could fit in my large suitcase that 100%. I use when I go traveling. If I'm all like my arms in front of me, with my knees up to my chest, I could fit in that suitcase.
And if you were deceased and somebody was they put you into a smaller suitcase, easy,
right?
Because you're getting into a suitcase because you still have to breathe and you still have to move, right? And don't get cramped and whatever.
At this point, when you're already deceased, they don't care if they're breaking a bone to fit you in there. You know what I mean? So they can bend you whichever way. So it's like.
So
that door was kicked in. That wasn't.
I'd say he's cute enough to get her away from that bedroom without leaving any DNA or any trace of that decomposition,
blood or
Uh,
anything, because
anything like that.
if you
Yeah.
strangle her, there's not
Yeah.
going to be blood.
No.
So he could have picked her up and carried her like a bag
Yeah.
of potatoes.
Exactly.
And
And
like
I'd
I
say he
said-
probably placed her somewhere out of sight, a safe place, maybe into the woods a couple of yards where he
Yeah.
was working on that same day when she was at Gunnison. Could be in there. He had a little hut up there. Could be somewhere out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And then he continued then done a normal day. Now, he had an opportunity around noon to do this on noon because his bobcat was down tailwinds, and his bobcat was taken off the trailer, and the trailer and the bobcat were left down in tailwinds, and he disappeared for an hour and a half, and then went back to tailwinds, and then he went off down to the County Road 105. You know, he walked there till 5:40,
Right.
and so he had that opportunity. Also, he had the opportunity after he finished at 5:40. He could have come home at 5:40 and done it then. But which would actually makes more sense for her phone calls, because there are phone calls from her to him in between that time. But as I said, with a spy app, you can do that yourself. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You can make those calls yourself. But so I'm not too sure. Is it at the noon or is it at 6? But it definitely happened on the Friday. Definitely happened, and there's mileage. We can prove the mileage. You know what I mean? With from the telematics that he did go to the house.
Yeah.
But whether or not he did do it on either time, it's only a couple of hours between, you know. But the thing is, I can't see him wanting to cut up a body with blood and all that sort of stuff. It's too risky.
Right.
You know, you have to think like you're the murderer, you know what I mean? And you don't want to leave any traces. So you cover up straight away, bagger, wrapper, you know what I mean? So there's no leakages and stuff like that, you know what I mean? As much as possible. And bury her as quickly as possible. And that's what that. And if you're going to cut somebody up, you're going to put one bit here, one bit. That's twice. If you do it 2 places, that's 2 chances of recovering her. And if you cut her up 4 or 5 times, you know what I mean. There's so many more times of all you need is a fingernail. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think so. I think she's in one piece, and I think I honestly think that she's within about a 15-mile radius of the house, you know, most possibly within a mile radius of the house.
I'm still at that stream.
Yeah, but we don't know, see, because he as I said before, he was like a gopher that week. He was digging holes all over Salida.
Well, he was chasing chipmunks too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, chipmunks, wild turkeys, bears, you name it. You know what I mean? All the it was like Animal Farm there.
Wasn't there something too that he brought up that they thought his daughter had shot, and then they went looking for it?
That was the wild turkey. So
wild turkey, yeah.
That's what he was supposed to be doing between 11:30 and 1:35. He was looking for the beard. Wanted to get the beard from the turkey.
Yeah.
That Mallory had wounded with a crossbow or something. Like.
Just craziness.
Crazy. But you see, this is a bit like the Summer Wells case. Once the craziness starts to come in, you have to concentrate on what get rid of all that chasing chipmunks and get rid of all the bulldog and all the animals. Get rid of all that and strip it down and look at it for what it is.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you think that people are talking about, they had conversations. Why would Barry be calling her 12 consecutive times and the calls only last for 2 seconds?
Enough to show on the data.
Yeah, and the last call was on the Sunday around on his way home. So it was nearly 7:00 that he calls her again, and there was no answer that time. So the phone, I believe, then at that stage is kaput. So I'm thinking the phone is up in Broomfield myself. That's what I think. But after all this happened, and when he went to, when they took the house, he went to Indiana. And on Suzanne's Facebook, it showed in her check-ins that she had 2 check-ins in Indiana, in Alexandria, on her Facebook. One around the 18th, the other around the 17th or 18th or 18th to 19th. I'm not sure.
Okay.
That there was 2 check-ins on her Facebook. Now they've been deleted since, but I have them from at that time, and so he had her phone, even if it wasn't. He had her Facebook on his phone. So he arrived in Indiana, that check-in came on into Indiana. 2 check-ins, 2 different days, and
Wow.
so and I got that from way back, way before when I started looking at this case. You know what I mean? I noted that, you know.
Wow.
But listen, I'm on here. I don't know how long, but I'm way
Yeah,
too
we've been
long.
on for a while, so we're going to
Uh,
jump off. And I really
listen,
appreciate you coming up, Merton, and
No, I'm
sharing with
delighted.
us. And
I'm delighted. I hope I haven't bored all your.
oh, everybody is still here listening with their ears wide open. I'm
Alrighty
telling
now.
you. So it's good because I mean, like I said, you and Kurt have, been working this case, and it's just never ending. It's not about to end anytime soon, and you guys aren't giving up. And there's a lot of respect to you too. And I want to thank you for coming up. I wish AK could have. He's out doing stuffs, as he says, stuffs.
He's been sending me stuff here now, and I'm sure he's wanting to get hold of me here. So
Yeah, so go do what you got to do with him. Tell him stay safe. And we thank him and we thank you for all the effort and everything that you guys are putting into this and not giving up on Suzanne. I mean, that I just got cold chills all up and down me, and it's like 100 degrees in my house. But so much respect and thanks, heartfelt to you guys for
and same
staying
applies.
on.
Yeah, look, there's a load of people out there who are still holding a flag for Suzanne.
Yeah,
and look, this is a great day for all those.
Today's
people.
a win. Today's
a win, and it gets us, because I know I've been down the last few days because I just felt there's a lot of negativity and whatever, and AK I'm sure was the same, and a few of the others that I'll be chatting to. So this is a great day.
It is a great day.
Like more than people realize, because there's
It's
a lot
big.
more.
It's bigger than what they think.
We have a lot more to share. We
Right.
have an awful lot more stuff I haven't even talked about here today now.
In time.
But yeah.
Everything comes out at the perfect time. So, keep doing what you guys are doing. Much love and respect. Thank you for coming up on panel and, speaking. And I think you've answered a lot of things for a lot of people in chat. Gave a lot of information that they may not have known.
And I'd just like to say, I'm sorry about the chat, because I'm a man. I'm not a multitasker. So I'm sitting here and I'm chatting to you a lot, and I'm gazing at the chat every now and then. But if I start typing in there now, I lose it. You know what I mean? I lose my concentration and the flow and everything. So I apologize. I apologize to everybody in the chat.
No, they all love, even having you up here where you can share, what you guys have been doing, and some of what you guys have been doing. We know there's a lot that both you and Kurt can't share right now.
Look, we have to protect people as well, you see.
That's right. So, and yourselves, like the threat is real. There are people out there that want us to leave Barry the hell alone. And
I know that. Yeah,
and Kurt lives there.
Yeah,
Kurt's in Colorado, and that's a big threat. And I don't want nobody's safety. I mean, sometimes I just want to choke him because he puts himself in harm's way. But he's doing what he's doing.
He's well protected there as well now.
Yep,
believe me, I tell you now.
He's doing what he loves, and
like
he's not gonna. Yeah. But I mean, when he's out and about and going around, and I don't want to say too much because it's not my story to tell, but he's doing good things, and I want you guys to all watch for him on his channel, AK Rocks. Martin, if you want to throw your link to your channel up in chat.
No, I don't have a channel.
Oh, you don't have a channel?
No, I have. I actually looked at accidentally. I clicked on my own name, and I have a few subscribers, but I don't have a channel. No, it wouldn't be my cup of tea. I'll jump on. I jumped on with Thomas from the Missing there a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago, and I jump on with AK every now and then. But
Well,
no,
you guys are doing great things, and I'm going to keep my channel here up to date with what you guys are doing, with what you guys share. When AK
Thanks, Celeste.
decides, when he decides it's time to bring out this new stuff, some of it I know, some of it I don't, and that's fine. I kind of like it better that way anyway. When that comes out there, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to bring everybody that wants to come from here over to watch, because I think it's like he's onto some good stuffs. So,
yeah, I know. I just that's one thing I would like to say is that he could do with some more support, because just people that just get stuff that we put out and they copy it and whatever. You know,
Right.
it happens to you as well. I know that, but we are actually putting in a lot of work, and I know we don't throw all the stuff out there because, you know, it's timing and there's a lot of work in that too. You know, there is a lot of work in getting all that together, and you can't put stuff out that you're not 100% sure of. So, you know, we can only put out what we
what you can
we know
back
for
up.
fact. You know, exactly.
Totally
So
understand.
yeah.
So when that
please,
happens, I'm going to reroute people all over there when that does happen. I've always been and always will be a big supporter. He's like family to me, and the same as you. It's like, you know, we respect and love you guys so much, and just very thankful that, you know, two human beings that have no connection to Suzanne are going to the lengths and their energy and time and money that you guys have put into this to do the right thing, to find Suzanne. It's just
there's no motive for me. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that is it. You just said it there now. Like, I don't get, as I say, it costs me. Do you know what I mean? But I don't care about that. You know what I mean? I like, once I decided to do something, I'm sticking with it. You know, to the end. You know, as long as I can, anyway. And
we love and respect you guys for that. And
we've got a lot of people helping us now. Do you know what I mean?
That's
It's not just me and AK. There's a lot of people. You know what I mean? You know, you're on the Discord, you see them, and you know, but there's even people in the background that we don't see. You know what I mean? That never come up on Discord as well, that are helping out here. So please, God. You
guys are great, and the whole team is great, and I'm proud to be part of that. And I mean, but the biggest respect goes to the two of you for never giving up and letting people know. You come and troll, do whatever you want to do. It's still not going to stop. We're still going forward. So with that being said, I'm going to let you get over to AK, and I know he's got some stuffs for you. So go take care of that. Thank you so much for coming up.
Thanks, folks. All the best.
All the best. There you go, you guys, Martin. And I'm telling you, you guys, they do so much, like even stuff that you guys don't see yet. You will be seeing some of that. And when that does pop off, believe me, I will send out on my community tab. I will put a link, and we got to go over there and support and watch, because there are some, like I've been telling you guys this for a little while, there's some stuff that I know that I cannot share. And that is safety of others, safety of the team. And like Martin just said, they're not going to put something out unless they have absolute proof. So with that being said, please help me in supporting them. When you do see that pop up, let's go on over and give them the support that they deserve. So with that being said, I hope you guys learned some new things today, maybe had some of your questions answered. And yes, Sissy Yang, yes, the truth always comes to light. The light always outweighs the darkness. It's just time, and we've got the time. We're not going nowhere. Okay, so with that being said, you guys, thank you, mods, for being here. Thank you to all of you guys for being here and listening to Martin and what he had to offer. I hope it's given you a lot more insight. Great guys, great team. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Until the next time, you guys, we're going to end it the same as we always do. Please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Always be aware of your surroundings. I love you guys to the moon and back. Bye-bye for now.